All right, folks, we are live and we have a returning guest from years gone past, Mr. Adam Fields from Midnight 27 Studios. And yes, I have brought some old stuff of Adam's out of the vault of stuff that I have from him. And we'll show that off a little bit later. But Adam, tell everybody where you're at, where you're from, and what you do.
Wow, it has been quite some time since we got together. Would you say 4 years or so?
Almost 4 years, yeah.
So yeah, lots have happened since then. So I'm basically from a small town, but we have just recently moved to Northeast Ohio, in the Youngstown area. So that happened last year, and I'm never doing that again. That was absolutely insane, but that puts us in a really good location now, so I can start branching out a little more into the Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, West Virginia market for different shows. But yeah, I'm the owner of Midnight 27 Studios. Basically, it's a small indie publishing company that puts out basically just my stories that I come up with. I've helped out multiple people in the indie market. Dustin with Ethereal, Rodney Fike with Roadkill Rampage, Victor Dandridge with Point of Authority, just a whole bunch of different stuff.
And it's crazy because like I was away for a little bit because I had things going on. But when I came back and saw like you were doing Greed, like with
No,
a theory, dude, I
that is
love
my
this cover.
favorite cover.
I love how you did that one. Um,
Love that one.
and that's one of the reasons why, like, I when I went to go help with Ethereal, I was like, they remember how it used to be a long time ago of like
Hmm.
taking care of artists, taking care of writers, letterers, colors, like it's a family oriented thing, and that's why I love supporting Ethereal. Um, but just to see like your artwork, I'm like, wait a minute, I know that guy, I know that stuff. And it's cool to see where you were at before to where you're
Yeah,
at now. Like, remember before we were talking about sketch cards and
that.
basic
Yep.
things, like just you were just kicking off your website back then,
Hmm. Yeah.
trying to get out, off of the, now I'm seeing you're at every, like almost every convention, you're doing these things, you're having fun, which is what you're supposed to do. It
Hmm.
shouldn't be the constant, I'm going to say struggle, the starving
Right.
artist. Um,
Yep.
but it's cool to see that you made it. You've actually made it as an artist, and you're getting to do exactly what you want to do, which is, I think, what
Yeah.
everybody wants to do. You know, but if it was with the big two, that might have been a different story, you
Hmm.
know. And that's why, I'm gonna harp on it and knock on everything that's why independents rule, you know.
They do. They really do. And I get asked a lot. What's if I could what would I want to work on? And I know they're gearing it towards a DC property or a Marvel property, and I always tell them my own stuff. If I was given a chance, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Working with Dustin, he picked me up for the listener, and I've been blessed to be able to be on all five covers for that book, which opened the door for Greed. And I know we're in the talks for a couple other books that he's got coming out because he is honestly one of the hardest working
Hmm.
publishers that I know in the indie game right now. So he treats everybody fair. He's upfront, and it's he sticks to his word, which goes a long way. So I'm honored to be able to work with him, and like I said, it's opened doors for other people. So I've had the opportunity to work on various projects with Seer Nova. I've worked on two of their books called Ink and Scales. I just wrapped up Ink 2, and today I just wrapped up Roadkill Rampage issue 4 for Rodney Fike and Haslam. So, it's kind of crazy to see, my table from just 3 4 years ago when we first talked to now being completely full and running out of room for all these books that I've had the opportunity to work on. So uh, yeah, the indie market is exploding right now, and best thing is, it's all fresh ideas. It's never a reskin of something else that's out there.
And that's what's kind of nice too, is that we've got to the point where the independent scene is booming, and one of the main reasons I want to say it's booming is because of Kickstarter.
Hmm.
Because today, if you want an independent book, you got to go to Kickstarter. And that's the easiest way I've seen to reach fans, reach new potential fans. Word of mouth gets blown up a lot, especially with Facebook, Instagram and whatnot. But the
Yeah.
Kickstarter piece is where you connect, and I think that's what a lot of people wanted, is that you actually connect with the writers, you connect with the artists, and you get to see all these variant covers. Now, there is a fine line of how many variant covers to this amount of
Yeah.
variant covers to pick from. And I understand from a publishing company perspective that you're trying to give as many options as you can for people, because
Hmm.
you might not like all the artists. You might not like all the things done. But if you don't want A, B, C, or D, well, hey, maybe there's one and number Z or T or
Hmm.
U, like sometimes like that. Hey T man. So that's kind of the catch 22, is like there's a fine line
Yeah.
of how many, and I think Ethereal has got it the best as far as
Hmm.
the right amount. Merck has been doing a lot, has been doing really good with theirs too. They have a lot. I think the difference between like Merck and Ethereal is Ethereal focuses on their artists and their thing. It's not a whole lot of guest artists and a lot of guest cover artists that I've seen.
Yeah.
Because when they pull somebody in, they want you to be part of their family forever.
Yep.
And the dynamic is a little different too. It's like you don't sign 100% agreement with Ethereal. You can go work wherever you want.
Hmm.
They're just asking, can you help us? Go through these things, which is completely different than you'll ever have in Marvel or DC, Image. Those things like, oh no, you're sold exclusively to us, and that's it. You don't
Yep.
get to go work nowhere else. And so that's why everybody on the independent side love working like with Ethereal, with Merck, and now Legends Publishing's being brought up. So, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good startup ones that's out there. And there's a lot of consternation too, because there's so many Kickstarters to go back now. So
So
you've
many.
really got to pick your battles as far as which ones you want to get, because at the end of the day, you're spending money on comics,
Yeah.
but it depends on like I'm a huge Coffin guy, because I'm old school Lady Death.
Hmm.
But so I spend my money with Coffin, with Merc, with Legends, with Ethereal. I
Hmm.
spread it around. And who I'm really buying, I'm buying my friends' books. Is what I'm buying.
Pretty
99%
much.
of the
Yeah.
time. It's like, hey, if it's Nia Rafino, or if it's you, or if it's April Reyna, or
Yep.
Mike Chrome, or anybody of these kind of guys, like they're friends of mine that are artists and writers, and I'm wanting to support them because you know why? That's money going towards you and your table, and I know where it's
That's right.
going.
Absolutely.
And that's why I love to support Kickstarters for that reason. And the more that they have out there that's supporting you guys, I'm always going to be part of that. And it's funny because like when I go to my wife asked me the perfect question: if you're buying all these on Kickstarter, why do you go to your LCS? Why do you get books at your LCS still? And my answer is, I'm getting the variants that are not available on the Kickstarter, and
Hmm.
it's to help keep my LCS alive. Because you know why? They're gonna have that back issue of something that I want someday, and I can
Hmm.
walk in there and get it at an LCS that I can't get online unless when I pay secondary markets. A lot of times,
Absolutely. Yeah.
um,
We know how that goes.
we do. We both do. It goes crazy on some of this stuff, but
Yeah.
like um, Merck had one. Andrew Mangum. I had him on the
Yep.
channel a little while back. He has a special variant cover that's only done through Diamond and through LCS. You can buy it through there, or you can buy it straight from Merck's website. But
Hmm.
it wasn't on Kickstarter, so it's one of those things. Like, I'm gonna go support my buddy, pay $5 for a book, know that
Hmm.
his cover's getting out there and it helps propone. Hey, go check his work out. Go check this out. And I think that's kind of like when I want to see, like, I've not seen the listener yet in LCS, but I got a feeling that maybe with like number 5, maybe I'll finally see it
Hmm.
show up. So I'll be happy because like I've already picked up so much stuff from Dust. I'm like, we got to get that LCS push that,
Yeah.
because I think
And
there's a like, especially Greed. Greed's like a perfect horror sci-fi book that
Yeah.
most people would buy. Like I buy Halloween, over from
Mhm.
Opus. Like I love Opus's stuff because it's Frazetta. If it's Frank Frazetta, I'm gonna buy it 99%
Yeah.
of the time. But
Yep.
they have that horror mixture stuff. So does Aquitas Comics. They do the Oh My God anthology series
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So like little things like that.
Yeah. I'm fairly new to Kickstarter. I've backed a whole bunch of projects, and I've been a part of multiple people's campaigns. With covers, prints, inserts, or whatever. But this is actually my very first time running my own campaign through the platform. What I'm learning is it's actually its own little community.
Hmm.
People that I've checked my backer report, and there are names on there that I do not recognize at all. And when I thank them and everything through messages, and I realize I'm like, wow, these are people that search only comics, because I've seen what they back, and they only back indie comic stuff. So much like social media, that's kind of its own little community, and I think that's really cool how it's kind of built that up, and now it's cross promoting other people's projects and everything. And of course, if you treat one of these backers right, word of mouth's going to spread, and that's going to only make your next campaign more successful. Um, so yeah, I really dig the Kickstarter side of things right now.
Definitely. Well, and
Yeah,
so while we're talking about it, let's show some of that.
yeah.
So we're gonna
So
share
technically, I
this.
have two going right now, but only one is in my name. The other one just features my artwork.
All right. Well, let's feature the one. Okay. And we've got Prowl
Hey, there it is.
issue
Yeah.
one remastered. Now, so let's talk about Prowl a little bit because I'm old school. I remember like I've got the originals, and I'll show these here in a little bit. And when it first kicked off, and then we'll talk about the evolution of your artwork from then to now. Just looking at just the bare bones first picture, you can see the differences now on it, and so like the listener was the same way. So as of today, we have 10 days ago. You were funded already because if people don't understand how Kickstarter works, you have a goal. If you meet that goal, then you're funded, and then they will take your money at the end of the Kickstarter.
Mhm.
But then anything on top of it is usually pushed into a stretch goal. And so a stretch goal can be anything that the Kickstarter owner decides to do. If it's extra pages, if it's prints, cards, you name it, extra goodies. We always like extra goodies. I'll tell you,
Always.
as a backer, I love extra goodies. Uh, and so yeah, Adam's
Yeah.
first created, and you see that 26 backed. You're about as bad as I am.
Right. I do. I love it, and I'm a firm believer that if you're going to be on a platform, you need to do your part too to support your friends and everything.
All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. So this is issue one. Now, if I'm old school and I'm looking like I've got all the way up to issue five of the old
Uh-huh.
series.
Yeah.
So is this the remastered issue one from way
So
back in or
yeah.
redone?
All right. So ever since I Prowl was sort of my very first attempt at a comic book. For those that really don't know my backstory, I fell backwards into comic books. I never set out to do this as a profession. I was working a 9 to 5 office job in marketing, basically writing manuals, and then I became a marketing specialist, and it just wasn't feeding that creativity. So I decided I'm going to work on a comic book for fun. Jim and Dan's Comics over in West Alexandria, they had opened up, and I had stopped in just to check it out, and I got to talking to Dan about it, and I said, I think it'd be kind of fun to make comic books. And he goes, well, would you like to set up at our show in December? And I never thought about it, but I could give it a shot. I was nervous. I never knew this. I thought graphic design was like all you could do as an artist. Only big artists could do this stuff, and it was intimidating. But I set it up, and it's really quickly took off. I was doing sketch cards and everything for people, and everyone started asking me about Prowl. So when I finally published it, I got basically I published 7 issues um, altogether in the run. But the way I did it was very sloppy. I would write the issue, draw the issue, publish the issue, write the issue, draw and that's just not the best way to do it. And I've learned that now, doing this now for about 7 years, almost 8. I've worked with multiple writers, multiple publishers, and I've seen how they've done it, and I've only fine tuned my art style. So after a while, I'm like, I'm bringing all these other people's stories to life. I kind of want to work on mine again. But I really, I look back at issue 1, and although it was the best I could do at the time, I'm like, I can't base it off of this. I need to do something. And I woke up in the middle of the night with this amazing idea on how I should have ended volume 1. And I said, who's keeping me from remastering my own stuff? And I literally jumped up, and my wife was like, what's wrong? I said, nothing. Go back to sleep. I got to go write. And I literally wrote the whole new volume in one night. And now it sort of spun into this where I've redesigned some characters, added some new characters, made a much deeper plot line, and gave layers to each character. So, there's like an A arc, a B arc, a C arc, all throughout this main story that we're telling. And it wraps up in 6 issues, and then it continues because I've already have volume 2 plotted, and just need scripted, and then I also have volume 3, 4, and 5 outlined. So there's a whole continuation of this. But yeah, I basically said I'm going to remaster this. I want to make it something that I can be very, very proud of. I'm very proud of what I did with the first 7, but I think when people look back at those and compare them to this, they're going to drastically see a huge difference, especially with issue 1 on how it ends. It's going to raise some eyebrows and get them excited for what's to come for the future of Prowl.
Definitely, I'm excited. So let's go back here and take a look. So, we've got the new covers. Cover A,
Yes.
cover B.
Yeah,
Got
so cover A is actually mine. And going back to our talk about variant covers, I decided to keep this simple because honestly, I thought $2,000 was going to be it on day 20. So this was just sort of I need this campaign out. I want these books for free comic book day to have at my table when I set up at Bell Book and Comic,
yep.
and I need it done. So my buddy Chad Shodel is hammering away at colors right now, and I'm lettering them as as they go, and I'm just replacing the inks with the color version. So the minute I get that last page, I fire it off to the printer, and we're golden. So I gave him the opportunity to do a cover. So for our first Kickstarter, we got cover A, which is mine, cover B, which is Chad's, and then everybody gets a mini print of the covers. They'll get stickers. There's an exclusive foil print that I'll have, and then if someone backs one, I think there was only 5 spots available as the top is the top tier. They're going to get a blank cover sketch of one of the characters out of the book, and
Yeah.
then the
See.
stretch goals. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I got one of them.
Oh, nice. Yes,
Well,
I'm real excited because one of the things I did for the remaster, and I took my time, was I made turnarounds. I made character style sheets because I get tired of flipping back through pages, especially if I'm at a con and for a weekend, and I take a break from Thursday till Monday, and I kind of forget whether or not his shirt was open or closed, if he's wearing a hoodie, and I had to dig back through the pages, whereas I can just pull up my quick guide and be like, that's what he looks like again. Especially if I'm working on other people's books, they kind of get, mixed up. Because I was working on Ink issue 2, Roadkill Rampage issue 4, and then Prowl all at the same time. So things started blending together
oh yeah.
really bad. So having these style guides was key for me. And then this also will help any artist with the colors. And if and I bring on other people, I can say, here's the covers that here's the characters, have at it. So trying to think ahead here.
Definitely. Well, and it's kind of hard too at the same time because when you're looking at, these Kickstarters, for example,
Hmm.
you have two covers, which makes it completely easy.
Hmm.
Like literally, you just go here, you can back cover, right? And look at that price too. Digital $5,
Hmm.
for each one, and then a physical copy. And this is where a lot of people don't understand, like, how good Kickstarter is because you get for $15 plus shipping, which is usually $8 to $10, so 25
Hmm.
total. You're going to get the digital copy, the physical copy, the print, and on top of that, we've already went over $2,000 in the actual gold. So you're going to get a wristband and a keychain for
Yep.
25 bucks.
And there's the keychains. I already got them.
Oh, here,
So
let's
yeah, they are nice. And I had to order more because I didn't think we would actually hit it, and they're actually arriving tomorrow. So I already have them coming. They're amazing. And of course, the wristband, I wear mine religiously. So
Oh yeah.
I already have them.
And T Man's got a perfect thing. Continuity is great. Keeping it in the same continuity and understanding exactly what it is. So, and the
Absolutely.
reason, the reason why this is going to be such a successful thing is
Mhm.
A, because it's the same people that does it. And guess what? It's like when we bring out old school Proud number one. You remember when you
I
got the,
do.
that's the old collector's corner. There wasn't many of these made,
Nice frame.
you know.
No, there was only 50.
Yeah, but I remember I got that from you, and that was after the very first prowl,
Yeah, that's the very first one.
the,
Yes.
the very first original prowl, and then I remember you gave me a card to go with it.
Oh, I
I still
forgot about the card. Look at that.
I kept
Which
all
is
these.
actually another. It's another tier. Is it's going to have more fresher art, but that's a new stretch goal. Is
Yeah,
the trading cards? I like trading cards.
I
Working with Upper Deck, it's just kind of in my blood.
and so I'll just run through these real fast so everybody can see.
Yeah,
So you
the
got pro.
convenience store.
Oh yeah.
I drew
So
that cover at a really horrible Comic Con. It was when I say it was bad, it nobody showed up. Literally zero people. I drew it at the show. Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
See, and I'm not gonna say I'm a pack rat, but when there are one of my
You got
friends,
the red one.
I got the red
There
one.
was there was a purple one too that I did with a reprint.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then you did the um, massive
Yes.
copies of five, but then
Hmm.
there was different variants with them. Like,
Yeah. So that I don't know what happened. We still don't understand what happened. So we had to do the last page. The panel didn't populate the text in the word bubble. The word bubble was there, and it was the last page. It didn't print it. It was on our file and everything. So I went through all 100 books and hand wrote a phrase. There was four different phrases I wrote, and like that one says "now talk." I
yeah,
hand wrote every single book.
yeah,
So that's how you make lemonade out of lemons, man.
e- exactly.
I
And
had
that
those little corner things made up and everything.
and that was the cool part. Like I remember when you were telling me about that. And this is years. Like folks, we're talking
Yeah,
like 4 or 5 years ago. When
easily.
this happened. And you're like, hey, it's messed up. The book is messed up. There's this one
Yeah,
little thing, and you were talking, just make a variant, just and then
yeah,
you can, and it was cool because like it's a little thing, but it's also personalized in that way.
it is.
If you think about you know, and it's actually a good like piece to where what happens if you would have changed the story based upon that one bubble? Like say
Right?
issue 6. Like you could have had 5 or 6 different versions of issue 6. Which
Easily.
reminds me, I got to get 6 and 7 from you too.
I think I have some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the catch 22 is like that little personalization you don't get with the big two. And
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to. And you know why? Because they don't got time for that. Because they're worried more about A, making money,
Mm-hmm.
B, getting as much variance out as they can, and three, to back to T Man's point, there is no continuity, period. You pick up a DC or Marvel book today, good luck trying to figure out where to start at. You know,
That was
you
my biggest question when I first started getting into comics. My cousin he actually reviews comic books for certain websites, and I asked him like, "Hey, where should I begin?" He goes, "Just grab any issue one." Like it's kind of a mess because they're all individual stories, and I've finally understood, that there's not really one, unless it's Spawn where they're up to like 300 plus, but it's Batman just starts back over. They'll have a mini story for 6, 8 issues, and then it starts back over. You know, Spider-Man has a spin-off, and that generates another issue one, and it can be kind of confusing. So that's why mine is going to have one story and it's going to have a definitive end. That doesn't mean that I can't have some of my side characters spin off from it, but there's a beginning, middle, and end for sure. Um, because ultimately, I may want to move on to something else, or I might be working on something else at the time, and I may have to pass the torch over to somebody else to help me out. I don't know at the time, but I do know I already have the end game in mind, and we start with it from issue one. So, uh, yeah, it comics can be kind of tricky like that for anybody just wanting to dive in. So, trying to make it as an easy read and grab for as many people as they possibly can.
and for Prowl, I mean, and so like I'm going to take it a little differently too, is because
Mhm.
I've read the book, um, as far as the original version of it. So I understand what the story is, but when I go to remastered, I'm going to pretend like I never read the book again.
Mhm.
And you kind of got to do that for a remastered series because if you expect to have the same thing happen that happened in the original version, it will not happen and you will be disappointed. So
Absolutely.
so you have to really go into it as if you have not read it or understood it because A, what happens if you change the origin story in issue 1? So it's going to it's be a whole different character at that point.
Mhm.
So it was like when I was reading the listener, like I was talking to Dustin, I came into Ethereal at Greed. The listener had already came out way before Greed,
Mhm.
and so I had never read it. So I did Greed, BGD, If It Hops, and stuff like that. I've read all of those. And then I said, okay, I need to read the listener because that was your first book, to support. And so I got the digitals, read through all 1 through 4 already. And I'll get 5 soon. So I'm not going to say nothing about it. You've already seen it. Um,
Mhm.
uh, but it's it's a phenomenal story, but it's not for everybody.
Mhm.
That's the thing about the listener is um, it's a point in time of what happens with this individual and what he has to learn how to do as the listener. The listener, and just to give an example, it's a job that somebody does for their life, and that's what they do.
Mhm.
Um, and there are people after that person too because he knows everything literally, and he hears and
Yeah.
knows everything. Um, so everybody's always after him. So when I saw when I was reading Greed, and then you had the people from the listener in Greed, I was like, well, who are these people? Like, well, you
Hmm.
need to go read the listener. I'm like, dude, I've not read that yet. And he's like, oh crap, yeah, you need to go read that first because there is some continuity there. I mean,
There
within
is.
there. Same way with Frog Legs that's coming out. Frog Legs is part of the
Hmm.
bigger ethereal multiverse. I'm just going to say it. Prowl could be part of that multiverse as well,
Oh, easily,
easily, because of
easily.
the dynamic of the werewolf that's in there. Now, Dustin doesn't like werewolves. We know that. He's trying to be different than the normal things, which I appreciate it. That's a new take.
Oh yeah.
That's a refreshing take on things. It isn't just zombies, werewolves, and things like that. Prowl, it even goes another step ahead, and it talks about werewolves, but it's a little bit ambiguous,
Hmm.
which I know that's intentional,
Hmm.
because it's part of the storyline in the plot. But you get to see more and more of it as you go through it. So it's like for me, I'm a huge fan of American Werewolf in London. Always have been.
Hmm.
I love that movie, and there's so many things get copied from that. But Prowl is almost like that point where like the werewolf and the man are two different people
Hmm.
in the story, and it's the whole Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation. And I will say, I will give props to Marvel for this one reason. They did a storyline of what happens when you separate the Hulk from Bruce Banner.
Yes.
And they just did that, within the last 10 years. And it was a perfect scenario of the Hulk couldn't live without Banner, and the Banner could not live without the Hulk because
Yep.
they were so integrated into each other. So it's the same way with Prowl. If you separate the man from the wolf, who is he really?
Yeah.
Without him. So that's why I like stories like this. Um, you're not going to get that. I mean, the days of Werewolf by Night, Morbius, those are way over in the Marvel world. They don't even want to
Hmm.
touch those because
No.
it's not something that kids can pick up. It's not something that even
Right.
teenagers will pick up because
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's dark, but it's one of those things where you've got to have the right mentality to read those things.
Yeah.
Man Thing, like they just did the Man Thing piece, on the show.
Where? Yeah.
Perf- Perfect way to bring Man Thing into the MCU. I mean,
Absolutely.
for the MCU, I have no problems with that because their continuity is all over the place for a reason, and it's
Yes.
supposed to be. But you can still understand any movie and pick it up. So bringing in Howard the Duck, Man Thing, I was like, dude, like if Bernie Wrightson was here or freaking Barry Windsor Smith, I would love
Yep.
to see what their takes would be on it today,
You're
um,
absolutely yes.
because I'm a huge fan of theirs. Or Frank Frazetta, like if the Death Dealer just showed up, like
Hmm.
what's he gonna do? But I enjoy stories like this, and so like I said, back to the original statement is I'm going to pretend I know nothing about Prowl going
Hmm.
into the remastered issue for that reason is because if you come in with that same expectation, you're not going to get it because it's different. And so that's what I would recommend to anybody else too. Is if they're going
Hmm.
to read Prowl #1 remastered, and you've read the old Prowl, I'm not going to say throw the Prowl away from before because it's going to have a little bit of backstory to it, but it's
Hmm.
going to be completely different. And I could tell it just by the couple of snippets, that you put into the
Yep.
Kickstarter. I'm like, that's completely different than the first
Yeah.
thing, and I'm like,
Yep.
that's awesome. But
Yep.
that's also like we were talking about. That's the evolution of where you've came from in
Hmm.
the last 5 to 10 years. Um, and so, with that being said, you're also an artist first.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
so, guys, I'm going to show you something that he made for me years ago, years and years
I
ago.
think I know what it is.
So, let's put it up here. Is this?
Yep. That's exactly.
So, I'm going to take it out.
I'll say there should be something on the back.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's definitely something on the back. So, this is. I mean, it's old. I remember when we
What
were doing this.
year is that?
Oh, I don't.
18. It
Yeah,
says 18.
2018. Yeah, this is.
Wow.
Yeah, so you think of it. Yep. But this is, and I remember we were talking like, okay, we were going to do color, and then we found out that the actual cover itself wasn't the best
I
format
hate
for it
those covers.
because they're that
Yeah.
shiny. It's not the matte.
Yes.
Know.
I just ruined three or another one, and I gave the other three to my son. They were X-Men.
Mm,
I don't know what they were thinking, but yes,
yeah, Marvel's been notorious, or like DC makes the thin ones, which I'm not a big
yeah,
fan of the DC ones. Now
they
I take
bleed.
they've had a couple of good ones, like what was it, the Punchline ones, the
Yeah,
purple, like those.
yeah.
Those are good covers, or like
I
matte.
love coloring
They're
on those.
good. And then the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger ones, that they had, like the yellow, the red, green, different color. Like those are good. They were a little shiny, but
Yeah,
not bad. Um,
Image has like when they use Spawn. I love doing just inks on those. I don't like doing color because it starts to splotch a lot, and I use Copics. I don't like this whole bin back here. That's all my markers. I don't know how to get around that. It's just if I do I just did a Spawn cover for the it was a Spawn and Walking Dead cover for comic book covers for cancer. And I asked him, I said, normally I do color for you. Is it okay if I just leave these black and white? Maybe like a couple splatters of red? And he said, oh, absolutely. And I explained why. And I'm so glad he let me because the line art was still crisp and clean. So sadly, it's trial and error, and you learn just by feeling whether or not it's going to work or not. I've scrapped so many books, and I've had to break a few hearts where I message them like, "Hey, I messed up," but I always give the option for a refund, or I can do it on another blank cover if you would like. So yeah,
and that's the hard part about it. Like, I mean, you do sketch cards too. You're talking about a
yeah.
small medium at that point of trying to do it, And then so we have this other one that Adam did for me as well. Oh.
Oh
And
yeah, I did that at a yard sale.
I remember you were telling me about that. And this is
Man,
this is old school Deadpool versus Batman.
those
This
old.
was my Marvel versus DC issue. If you think about Deadpool Secret Wars, this is a perfect blank cover to use for this.
Yeah.
You know, but
Now
yeah,
I got this one that needs to go to CBCS still, but
oh yeah,
Vader,
Vader.
I really like that. So I've evolved just a little bit with my
Yeah, I mean,
commission game.
and that's just time. That's all it is.
It
Going.
is.
And then
Time and lots of failed practice.
man, like a friend of mine, Dawn McTeague, was telling me, she was like, she's been doing this for like 15 years. And she said
Mhm.
everything has changed, from the way of doing airbrushing to using paint skills to using watercolors to, using Copic markers versus the old standard markers that were out there before. Like
Yeah,
everything, the mediums have changed, but it's also gave more aperture opening because now you can do more with less or with actually more as well because their markers go so far and they last. Like Mike Chrome was telling me one day, he was like, I'm so tired of filling up these damn Copic markers. Because he said I use so much of them because they work great.
they do. They really do. I love Dawn. I had the chance to talk with her at Cincinnati one year when her and Mike were there. Um, I picked up her book Drawn.
Hmm.
I love her style. Um, but yeah, watching her like on her live streams do all the different mixed medias, it kind of inspires me to like explore what other options. Like as you see behind me, I have a whole arsenal of inks and pens and everything. But what you don't see is I have a whole bunch of credit cards, like old cards and gift cards down here that I'll use for flicking and splattering with whiteout. Or I think I'm going to try with my airbrush system. I'm gonna drip some of my Copic ink in there and see if I can hit it with an
Swear.
airbrush. Just trying new things to get different effects because one, I don't want to be bored with work. I want to try new things that I might this might actually make it easier to achieve a look that I want, or it could be cost effective versus dumping all the ink on the and like Mike said, on the brush and
Yeah.
trying to get it that way. If I can mist it on to put a base coat on, that's even better, and it gives a different look. So it's all about evolving and trying something new.
When it's like April, I watch her do it too. With the way,
Hmm.
and like she does, and it's always fun, but like watching her because she'll do pencils first, and then you'll see her
Hmm.
start doing a little bit of inks on it, and then she goes crazy with the colors because she's one of the best colorists I've seen in a long time. Like she'll pull the markers out and she'll cut like by the time she's done and like she erases the pencils, you're like, holy crap,
Yeah, April's killer.
she is. I
She
mean,
she actually gave me some guidance on because I don't claim to be a colorist. I like to color my own covers, just because I know what I want the end to look like. But for the listener five, she was like, I sent them like, hey, here's what I came up with. She goes, oh, I love it. Could you shift the foreground to this color and then the background to this color? I said, let's try it. I never would have thought of that, and it turned out 10 times better than what I sent. So just having that eye for it and listening, that I'm so happy I did that with her. So.
that's what I love. Like, I mean, even for her, I mean, she's evolved. And so let me show you guys what he's talking about. So,
Hmm.
um, so we're gonna do listener number 5. So this is the
Yeah,
cover one. So
one of them.
seeing this, yeah, this is one of them. This is the one I grabbed, of course. So I was like, this is phenomenal. Just that the detail and that eye work,
Oh,
I love
that
seeing
was so
that.
fun. I was like excited to color the eye of this. And I paid homage to Jurassic Park with this. I love that cover.
And let's get to the other cover. So you got Ed's, you got Bladen's, and and so folks, if you take a look at Bladen and you look at Adams, you can see some similarities,
Hmm.
and that's what I like about it is like there's similar artistry, but it's different to like you do your own thing. Like Vic Moya, come on, man, Vic Moya. I mean, this is crazy, with Anubis. And I was like, holy crap. I've been a fan of his for a long time. There's LC, Ruben. Ruben is kind of an up and comer too. Ruben's been um,
Hmm.
he's been doing a lot. All right, and I love the teeth work here. You've got all this intricate like little one, two, then the back ones as well. And then there's the blood variant.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about the blood variant too, because I got that one too. Did you just splotch it on here, or did you airbrush
So
it, or how did you do that one?
so these are I actually colored. So I penciled it all out in Procreate, printed
Mhm.
that out. I inked all of it traditionally, scanned that back in, colored it in Procreate, and all that is just an additional layer.
So it's a patch.
Yeah, it's just a layer in between the front corn and the dinosaur. So,
Gotcha.
and then there's my cover for the trade.
Yep, I got that one too.
Yeah, that's actually the second variant because there was one that was blue, and they were black and white, and the winds and Natty were colored.
I like this. I mean, this to me, I mean, this makes it. This really ties it all together. And so,
Hmm.
and so, folks, you got to think about it this way too. This was in a different time zone of this guy, and so now this is from 1 through 4. On issue
Hmm.
5, we get to modern era. So it's going to be interesting because, like, at that point, um, he is he's in our world now versus being in the world that he was in before. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to see like where, and I don't want to spoil nothing either, but where he goes and what people or because they're still looking for him. I mean, that's never stopped happening. People are still, but he could be right next to you and you wouldn't even know it because nobody knows who he is.
Right. And Dustin's done an amazing job with that series, and actually every book that he's wrote.
Amen.
Uh, he's the web he's weaved with his characters is something I'm striving for. Honestly, he's just a mastermind with his own world universe that he's creating. So it's really really cool.
Well, and what I like about it is like he has something for everybody. Like
Hmm.
if you like dinosaurs, BGD. If you like science, sci-fi, things like that, you can read Greed. You can read even the listener has sci-fi, supernatural pieces to it. You can read those two. If you want just funny stuff, then go read Underland or read
Hmm.
Theater 7. Like, dude, I love Theater 7. That's one of my favorite books now. It was Penny. Um, but then if you want something a little bit like an offshoot, if you think of it as an offshoot of BGD with If It Hops,
Different hops.
it's a good story of like, okay, what happens in a all animal world, whereas BGD is like Cadillacs and dinosaurs from the
Hmm.
80s. It's like, what happens when you have all of them and they have to mix together, they have to live together. And that's how BGD really is. Whereas if it hops, they're in their own little world. So you have a little pocket, pocket dimension, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and that's what I like about Ethereal is that they have something
Oh
for
yeah,
everybody.
they
Um,
really do.
um, and I think as we keep going, I mean, there's a lot more coming out. I'm not going to spoil.
Hmm.
There's, we've got a manga issue coming out, and then there's also the other book with Vic, with There Be Shadows.
Hmm.
Um, so I can't read. I cannot wait for that book, dude. I cannot wait to
I
read
can't
that.
wait for that one either. So
Dustin sold me on it when he gave me the story the first time. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, then we've got the zombie book too. You know.
I may or may not have that jotted down for a potential cover.
Oh yeah.
I may have thrown my name in the ring for that one.
You should, man, especially for that
Yeah,
one.
he him and I had a quick conversation for about an hour and a half one day, and he was just sort of spilling his ideas out and told me get a hold of April if I need if I hear a cover, and I said yeah, those two, I want those.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and he's so, like, as an artist, it's so amazing to be able to reach out and say, "Hey, I really would like a cover gig," and he's like, "Yep, go ahead and get on the schedule." So it's just amazing to have him, supporting us in that manner, and in return, he knows I'm going to promote anything that I do for him, even if I don't have something for him. I'm going to try to push, his campaigns or his, you know, a friend of mine's cover or whatever. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
'Cause right now we got Frog Legs.
Hmm.
It's out there. So, you guys know we talked about that one during because we have a monthly roundup. With Ethereal.
Hmm.
So you're invited to that too. By the way, I'm gonna have to add you to the
Yeah,
group. I have to
yeah.
add you to
You
the
let me
group with
know.
Dustin.
I'll happily hop on.
Yeah, because it's usually Dustin, April, me, and Bladen.
I would
Um,
love to be able to talk because I've only talked to April, via chat. I've never really talked to her on a live stream or in person. So that'd be
yeah,
nice to.
well, and she lives up the street from us here because I live in Arlington. I live in Texas now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she lives up that way. And of course Dustin's in Tennessee.
Hmm.
So all right,
Yeah. He's
so you said you moved to northern
Northeast Ohio.
Ohio. So we got to
Yep.
ask the question:
Hmm.
Browns fan or Bengals fan?
I'm still a Bengals fan, only because I like the colors. When I
Oh,
was a
come
demolition derby
on, man.
driver, I painted my cars black and orange all the time. So
Come on.
I know you're part of the dog pound. It's okay. Honestly, I have nothing against them. I like a good underdog story, to be honest. it was really fun when I worked at the YMCA down in my old town. I would, pop in and scan a few people in here and there, and our one of my good friends, she was our director, membership director. She is a huge Browns fan. So when she heard we were moving up here, I told her, I said, I'm gonna have to send you as much Browns stuff as I possibly can, because there's stuff up here that they don't get down there. So I have to own up to that promise here soon when football season starts.
And that's the hard part for me is like I live in Dallas land, so everything's
Hmm.
Cowboys. Even before that though, like you don't hear about too many Browns fans other than in Cleveland.
Right
Because
now,
most people are like, oh yeah, you're that team who doesn't have a quarterback or hasn't had a good, for 30 almost. I mean, think about it. Since '99,
hmm
we've not had anything successful for almost 25 years.
no, and here's what sucks. Since we moved up here, my youngest, he's became a Steelers fan.
Oh, that's just even worse.
I know. And he just heard me. He's marching right in here. He's giving me the look. People forced you to. I don't think
uh,
they forced you to. But growing up, I also was a Steelers fan. I really
uh,
like Troy Polamalu. He made me a big fan just watching him play on the field. So the hair was amazing, but the way he owned every play was just amazing. So, but
uh,
I'm a
I
Bengals
will
fan.
say, between Bradshaw,
Hmm.
Bettis, and Woodson, I'll give them that. And Roethlisberger is a beast. Not
Yeah,
anymore, he's not,
no,
but he was a beast when he played there, and that's why the Browns and the Steelers had such a rivalry because it
yeah,
was all every year. It was some, but the
every
problem
year.
was we kept getting beat and beat and beat every year because we never had nothing stable. The one year
No,
we had something stable was about 2 years ago with Baker Mayfield when we
yeah,
went to the postseason. We're like, holy moly, we finally make it. And then what happens last year? We're not going to use Baker anymore. What do you
nope,
mean?
yeah.
Uh,
It's rough, and being up here now. I've only experienced, I think, half of a football season so far. And we happened to be at one of our local like diners, and during a game. Uh, and wow, it was rowdy. It was a really fun atmosphere. But the rivalry is so strong. There was a hard division up here. You have the Browns fans, and then you have the Steelers fans. So we're only an hour away from an hour and a half or so from Pittsburgh. So we are right dead in the middle between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and it's like tug of war. It's bad. And then there's just me and my brother-in-law who are Bengals fans. He was born and raised in Cincinnati, moved up here, so you know it's in his blood. So I'm like, well, we'll just stick together, I guess.
well, and I understand that because my mom lives in Hamilton, so they're
Yeah,
they're they're Bengals fans up there. So I
yeah,
was like, I get it, but I've been supporting the Browns since Bernie Kosar in the '80s. So it's like I'm a lifelong fan, so it's gonna be that way until the day I die. But
yeah.
it's just like I'm still hoping for that resurrection year where, oh, we actually make it and go
It,
further than
it
one
might be this
postseason
year.
game. They say that every year.
I know, but hey, it might be this year. One year they're going to be right. So might as well be it right this year,
Hey, I'll take a winning season. I'm happy
right?
with a winning season versus the 2-15 that we had a couple years ago.
At least you're not the Lions.
Yeah,
So
1-18.
yeah.
Hey, that's at least a positive thing. We're better than they were, which is only makes us the second worst team in the NFL.
How far am I from Detroit? Like that's the funny thing. I think I'm just the same distance away from Detroit. So, and I don't see any Lions fans on our mind. I'm only 3 hours away, so we're still quite a ways away. But yeah, I don't see a single Lions thing. It's all Browns or Steelers, man. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you're in Browns country now, so
Mhm.
dog
I
pound's
was
gonna
in
run wild.
yeah, I was in Cleveland for a show last Sunday, and it was awesome because one the gentleman that puts on the show, his name's Jeff Harper, and he puts on a true Comic Con. It's not this pop culture bringing in the guest, bringing this in. No, it is. He limits the artists to like 4 or 5 max, um, and then all the vendors are all comic book vendors. There's hardly any toys. There's hardly, there's some toys, but it's all old comics, people selling their collections, stores, whatever. That's all it is. These people come to dig, and they're there all day. So he puts one on in Akron, Cleveland, Columbus, and there's a couple in Akron that he's now putting on. So and they're all the same. It's all the same formula. A handful of artists. He rotates all of his artists, so it's not uh, stale. You don't see me at every single show. You don't see Robert Kraus at every show. It's a nice mix, and I really respect that. But and it's just nice to be able to talk to actual true comic fans, not people that are there to wait 3 hours in a line to get someone to autograph and get a picture. It's cool to be able to talk to fans of stories and hear what they like and what they look for in comics, whether it be the art, the story, the writer, whatever. But while we were up there, I was actually able to take my oldest up to Lake Erie for the first time, and
Oh yeah.
just getting to see it. It was kind of cool.
Oh, I know about Erie.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. If
He's
you
never
live in
seen a
if
big
you live
body
in
of water
Indi-
like that.
you live in Indiana, Ohio, you know all about Lake Erie and Lake Michigan.
Oh yeah. Which is what's funny is that was one of the biggest changes in Prowl. I had the idea in the first go for Prowl, but I never verbalized it like I do. Like you said, right in the very beginning on page one, you get introduced to West Erie. It's a made up town that I came up with right on the lake. Right next it's right next to Toledo on the map if you were to look and see it there. Very small town, and I thought that was a kind of a cool name for what's going on in a town that has a werewolf that runs and becomes a vigilante. Uh, West Erie. It just worked. I wanted to play off of that the West Erie part. Um, Based in a small town, growing up in a small town, they
Mm.
take a lot of pride in their name. So in Eaton, it was my mom runs a Jewelers of Eaton. There was the Eaton place. There was which was our a diner there. There was Eaton apparel. There everything had Eaton in it.
Mm.
So this is we're gonna play off of that where it's not West Erie, it's we. So we uh we candy it's just stuff like that I'm excited to play around with. So I have a whole map drawn up of the locations where things are going to go. I just have to clean the map up just a little bit. Right now it's a little crude drawing. I don't know where it's at, but I was going to show it, but I moved it.
Well, it's
Oh, it's over
funny.
there.
Like, there's an Erie, Colorado too. So,
Hmm.
so if you
Hmm.
did like say West Erie, Colorado, out there like had like I'm not gonna say multiverse, but like another version of Prowl
Yeah.
in West Erie, Colorado, like to see how he would be there in that situation in snow and rain and like having to deal with altitude. Like
Oh
huh,
yeah.
it's like little things like that. Like you know,
I like the idea of taking them elsewhere. Who knows? Maybe. I know I've got another. I did a show. My very first show this year was kind of a spur of the moment type thing. It wasn't a Comic Con. It was actually a cryptid con. It was a cryptid festival based around the Frogman, Loveland Frogman. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
mm-mm,
Um, so in by the Great Miami River in Loveland, Ohio, back in I think 1958 or something like that, three officers had saw what they said was a 3 foot tall frog with a magic wand, and it waved it and jumped over the guardrail into the Great Miami River, and that was it. But there's a whole festival that was built around this cryptid. And when I say that this was probably the busiest first year convention, there was about 4,000 some people that showed up.
Dang.
Yeah, and it's like its own little community. Now, having a werewolf comic book, it just kind of fit for me to set up there. But I also had a Frogman print anyway, so I'm like, well, let's. I have a couple cryptid prints. Let's try this out. I'm so glad I did. It was so much fun. But we actually had a chance to use that as a sort of a mini family vacation. So you know, trying my hand at different stuff like that, and seeing all these little stories, it kind of sparked this idea that I'd had for I think I've had the idea now for 3 years to write. So I kind of want to write this story, about a cryptid. I don't want to give too much until I'm like ready to write it, but I'm like, this would be kind of fun. I think these people would enjoy it.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, I really enjoy. I found out I really like cryptid conventions.
And that's kind of like for us here. Like we had Fan Expo in Dallas every year here.
Hmm.
So when I go to Fan Expo, I spend literally the whole day in Artist Alley. And it's
Hmm.
because that's why I come to a convention. I go for comics. I don't go for toys. I don't really. I mean,
Hmm.
like literally, if only thing I'm bringing with me is comics and a box to get signed, and then water and something to eat. Because don't pay for con things. People don't do that.
No,
Bring your own.
sneak it in.
Uh,
Sneak it
Number
in.
one rule: bring your own stuff. But two, like they had 8,000 vendors at Fan Expo, and I'm like, yeah, y'all go have fun. I'm gonna go talk to Don. I'm gonna go talk to Ryan Kincaid, Mustafa. The old guys too that were there, like Arthur Sheldon was there.
Hmm.
So me and him were talking about zombies for half an hour, like when he was doing Marvel zombies, and I'm like, and he's a local to here, so it makes it easy because he goes to everything. But like I'll
Yeah.
see him, he'll talk about this, and then I'm like, all right, draw me a new Ash because you haven't drawn Ash in forever, since he did, Army of Darkness years ago, for
Hmm.
Dynamite. And he was like, so what I learned is that he likes to draw on his own time. So he doesn't do a whole lot at conventions anymore because his artwork is painting, it's painting. So,
Yeah.
and I understood that. So I'm like, all right, so let me see, how much it's going to cost and get, yeah, it was way out of my price league for some of his stuff, but it was cool to just sit down and talk to him about it. Like, because he says, it takes him weeks, 2 weeks, just to get through one good painting done because he's so meticulous on it,
Yeah.
versus a normal cover artist who might have it in a week or so. Or if you have
Hmm.
crazy people like Bladen who knocks it out in a day, and I'm watching him do like doing a panel. He's like doing this panel, this panel. I'm like, holy crap, dude! Like he just goes crazy on it.
Hmm.
But I enjoy seeing that part of the convention, the artists, the writers, even the inkers and the colors, because people forget it's a huge dynamic. To build this
It
all
is.
together. And you need each other, and you can't forget the letterer too. The poor
Right.
letterer guy is like, make sure you leave the room in the bubbles, so I can.
That's and for Prowl, I just brought on Chad for colors. I'm actually doing all of it. So when I roughed out all the pages, I actually drew in where the bubbles will go. So when I'm doing the layout, I know where my characters are and everything. So when it may look weird on paper, but when you see the final product, it will make sense. And I'll even tell him like, hey, this little corner here, you don't have to add too much detail there. It's going to get covered by a bubble. I send him a sheet with specifics. In this panel, this is this color, this is this color. Uh, Try to add this texture. Or my favorite thing to do is say, hey, I left this background blank. Have fun. Like just go crazy. Whatever you feel would look cool, go for it. Because I truly feel like if you restrain an artist by putting them in a bubble, you're going to frustrate them because they have creativity too.
Hmm.
I didn't bring him on just to get the job done. I kind of wanted him to be able to express himself in it because, like you said, it's a dynamic. It's yeah, it's my story, but he's also a really good illustrator, and he has his own series and everything. So I'm like, hey, you know what you're doing. If you can make, he's done stuff on the panels that I never would have thought of. And I'm like, yeah,. I'm glad you did that. So I try to, I keep what's important on paper, and then I tell him you have freedom the rest of the way.
And that's awesome because like some guys I know who are pencilers and artists, they're also inkers.
Hmm.
And so and like Andrew Mangum was a good example. He was telling me one day, it's like the inker can either make it or break it
That is a fact.
because you can get it ultimately right and it looks amazing, or you can lose everything with the ink. And by the time it goes to the colorist, now it's going to have an issue because if it
Mhm.
looks bad on ink, it's going to look worse with the color on top of it.
That's true. I now only will ink my own pencils because when I first got started, I say that with an asterisk. When I first got started, all I wanted to do was pencils. So I penciled it, and they were all still having me do the inks and everything. And to me, it was kind of mind numbing to sit there and redraw what I already poured hours into. Now I have to do it all over again. Um, so I worked on a project. I'm not going to say which one, but the inks were so bad. I delivered the cleanest, probably still some of my favorite pages to uh, to date. And when I saw what the inker had done, because I didn't get to see any of the stuff until it was like almost ready to go. I didn't see the inks until they were already colored. And when I looked at it, I actually reached out to the publisher. I'm like, are you serious? He goes, what? And I brought to the attention that they looked rushed, and I brought up concerns. So when they hired me to do other stuff, I said, "Do you mind if I just ink this? Here's my price. Just let me ink it. I want to make sure it looks the way that I I envisioned." And they're like, "Oh, absolutely." And it turns out it's actually a lot faster because now what I do is, I don't have to pencil near as tight because I know what it's going to look like. And this is the biggest one, if the publisher and editor trust you to, they can look past your roughs and your loose pencils, and then they okay that, then you're golden. But if they want to see those tight, crisp, they need it to look right, and then you can ink it. That's when it kind of gets slower.
Yeah,
But I get it. It's their baby. So, but for Prowl, like this
that's
page,
yours.
I'm still inking. Like it is so rough. Like I know exactly where everything's gonna go though. This page probably took me maybe 2 hours, maybe three to rough and pencil, and it'll take maybe another hour and a half, 2 hours to ink, just because I know where everything's going to go. So it's all about trying to save time on the different stages.
And that's the difference between doing your own book
Hmm.
versus doing somebody else's is,
Yeah.
especially if it's a bigger company. Bigger companies are going to say, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, and then they give you a tight window of time frame to do it, you know
Yeah.
and that's the difference. Whereas on your own creative book, you can take whatever time you want to. You know why? It's your
Yeah.
book. You can do
Yep.
whatever.
You
Now
know,
granted,
and
you are now a little bit restricted with Prowl number one
mhm,
because it's on Kickstarter and it's only got so many days. And so, as
mhm,
a Kickstarter creator, you have to get it out in a certain amount of time, which is why I like how most people do it today. By the time you're putting it on Kickstarter, it's already done.
yeah.
90% of it's done, or you just need to get lettering or something finished, and then it goes to the printer, prints and ships.
Yep.
And now granted, that's also at the realm of the printer. as well. And like,
Hmm.
Dustin, he went through that this last year with some of the books. It's like you're at the one with the printer. Something's not right. It doesn't look good. Then you got to take care of it. And that's exactly what Ethereal did. Or like something didn't look right. It is not what it wasn't to the standard that they wanted, and I respect that wholeheartedly. It's like it ain't right, and you don't want to put out a crappy product because if you put out a crappy product, you're going to lose a lot of customers real
Oh
fast.
yeah, yeah.
You know, so I
It's
appreciate. I mean, yeah, I mean, I look at it like, yeah, maybe I was supposed to have books 6 months ago, but I could have got a very crappy book 6 months ago, or I can get the best book that they can put out, and this is what I'm going to get. I would rather wait
yeah.
100%.
I know there's a couple Kickstarters that I've yet to receive my reward, and they keep updating. And I'm talking, it's been about a year or so, maybe two at this point. So I've given up on them. But I know one, I'll never back anything from them again. And two, it's okay. I don't ever want anyone to think of me that way. So Chad is killing these colors. I mean, he's sending me two, three, possibly four a day. I mean, he's knocking them out left and right, and I'm lettering them just as fast as I can, and then I just replace the ink page with the color page. So by the time I know it's going to the printer before the campaign ends, I already know that, and I'm certain all rewards will probably be sent out after Free Comic Book Day. Um, just because I know I want to make sure that everything is signed, remarked, and I did put expected in May, so gave myself that little bit of time, and especially if they got a like you got a commission. I think I put June for that, I believe. Might not be June, but I wanted to give myself enough time to do a piece that was worth your backing. So I try not to rush anything. Except I
And I
rushed the Kickstarter out. Like I got so much flack from a few people, and it had me questioning. They're like, "Wait, you didn't do like a pre-launch? You didn't do this? You're only doing 20 days?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, and yes." Um, I I I wanted it out. I have it ready. It's just why not? And when I did a launch party live and was telling everybody about the campaign, about the story, and showing some artwork and stuff, and it was almost funded. It was funded within 12 hours. Uh, we reached our stretch goal within 48, or both stretch goals. So I added the third one.
hmm
So I'm like, it blew me away. So I'm telling I told all these people that do these big pre-launches and everything, and I understand why some of them do, but I'm like, you don't really need to do that. You don't need to stress too much over it. Just put out good quality work. So I'd like to think that everything I've done these 8 years, you know, treating, doing commissions and delivering on time, communicating with every single fan personally that has an order. If something is wrong, I fix it. I've refunded a few people because I'm like, hey, this didn't turn out the way that I thought. Here's you know what I would like. Some would beg me not to, so I threw in an extra signed book or something. Just treating people the way that I would want to be treated if in that situation. I feel like that has sort of led to the Kickstarter success because they all know, well, if he does this on a small scale, what's he going to do on a big scale? I've already lined my kids and wife up for a packaging party, a whole shipping party, and I'm
for
gonna
the
do
reward.
what gets. Yeah, I'm gonna do what everybody makes fun of. All these bosses. Like, hey, we had a big quarter, big old pizza party. So I'm gonna order pizza for everyone, and we're going to have a shipping party.
It is funny. Billy Tucci, from Crusade,
Hmm.
he does that every time too. Like you'll see like his Indiegogo or his Kickstarter will finish, and then you'll see the pictures like the day or two later. They're already boxing it up. Him and his wife and
Yeah.
his brother. They're all sitting there with rows and rows of Gemini shippers and priority mail boxes. Because that is the commitment that true people, true creators have. Is that
Hmm.
we are going to get it done. We're going to get it funded, and then we're going to get it out to you. You know,
Yeah,
and
I don't want it.
you don't want
You
it
know,
sitting in your house.
no, I I don't have room for it to sit in my house. I I want like when I hate that I even have a couple commissions still. I just know I couldn't send them over to my contact at CBCS because he said hold off on them while he's traveling. So I'm holding off, and I have a couple other books I'm going to send over to him. So I'm like, hey, I'll just do it all in one big shipping, and the fan knows that it's not sent yet. So they're cool with it. But I don't. When I get something done, I don't want it in my house. I want it out. I'm
Oh,
horrible about scanning in artwork or I try to I take pictures to communicate with the fans like here's this, but I don't get like those glamour shots and all that. I don't really have time to do that.
no.
I'm not one of those content creators that are constantly looking to record every step or that I just want to get the job done, send out to the fan and move on to the next one because that's ultimately what I'm having fun doing. Um, so yeah, if someone has paid for something or if they order a commission, I'm gonna do everything I can to get done. Like tomorrow, I've got three commissions I'm gonna be working on once we get back from Pennsylvania. So I'm like, yeah, this will be a fun day. I don't,
With
and then Sunday I'll be packaging everything up along with some online orders, and Monday then I'm going to the post office. So yeah,
and that's the
ship it
fun
all out.
part. You know,
Yeah,
it's like literally. I mean, I'm the same way. Like because I run whatnot. You know, for comic sales, and it's the same thing. You know, you get it done, you package it up, you send it out. And it's always either like Monday or Wednesday or Friday, or you're like, and you're always trying to get stuff in and out. You know, but I will tell you
hmm
this from a fan's perspective that communication goes 8,000 feet because it tells me what's going on with everything. Like, even when we were doing my commissions years ago on this book,
hmm
you know, you were very open and vocal about, you know, the Wolverine versus Sabretooth. Like, this is going to
yeah,
look like shit if I put color on it. And I'm like,
yeah,
I appreciate that bluntness because you know why? I'm the one paying for it. But it's also,
yeah.
I don't want to waste your time as an artist either. You know, it's like, let's do it together. Let's do it right. You know, and
Yep.
that's how you can constantly have people that keep coming back and coming back because they're gonna love the work that somebody's doing when you're with them all around the way.
Yeah, I'm as a business owner, it's it's weird to say this, but I'm not one of those guys that every time someone visits my website or my table or whatever, all I see are dollar bills and wallets. I actually care about the person. I'm interested in what they what brought them first off like to a con. I was asking, what brought you in today? Because I genuinely want to know. Um, Maybe there's something there that I didn't know because when you're setting up, you're so tunnel vision. You're just like, okay, I gotta get my book set up. Does the print wall look all right? Is this who's all here? And I don't really get to soak in the whole atmosphere because I'm there to do a job. So hearing why a fan, oh, so and so's here, oh, I didn't know that they were going to be here this weekend. Awesome. And then if they are like a younger creator like I was at one point talking to Stuart Sager,
Oh
he
yeah.
was one that now him and I good friends. We set up a free comic book day every year. I've been out to Noblesville and set up with him and Gavin Smith multiple times. He called me one day and he was like, hey, I have a brief conversation, 15-minute tops. 2 hours later we're still talking. We haven't even touched on the subject that he wants. So, but it started with me meeting him at Gym City, picking his brain about, how do I do this how do I get to this point? And, he was real honest with me. He goes, well, you have a family, you have a kid, you have two kids. Like, it's not going to be near as easy as, somebody that's maybe younger and doesn't have a family, no hiccups. If they fail, it's not going to affect anybody but themselves. Whereas I have, a whole family that I'm trying to take care of with this. So, but that's my driving factor. I want to make sure they're all taken care of. So I treat everybody. But So whenever I think about that moment of him talking to me, so when someone's talking to me at a table, they're asking me the same questions of, well, how do I get started? What Well, first, do what you're doing right now. Ask questions, walk around, soak in what did you like, what didn't you like, who were your favorite artists to talk to, and what made them your favorite artist. And that's how you model yourself, and just be genuine. And then, the artwork will sell itself. There's people that don't like my work. I know that. I'm not trying to please everybody. I'm just trying to put out what I think looks cool. And if someone likes it, that's even better. So, I'm not trying to target certain demographics or certain styles out there. I had some guy, he goes, "Oh, you should draw manga. You should draw." I'm like, I don't like drawing manga. I'm not gonna try to do that for a money grab. I'm gonna draw stuff like that I like, and that'll draw people that are like-minded to my table, and then I can possibly make a new friend, or a new, hopefully, partner. Like, that's how Chad and I met, was at Cincinnati Expo. I wasn't even set up. I hadn't even started doing art yet at this point. I just happened to be there to meet Jason Frank, or Jason
Jason
David
David Frank.
Frank. So, I mean, it's you never know how your interaction is going to affect your guys' future. So, it's a really cool uh, little atmosphere to be able to set up and do all that.
Well, and it's a tight niche too in the indie
Yeah.
scene versus, because like literally if you walk down Artist Alley, like for me, I will know almost everybody that's there, especially
Hmm.
like in Dallas Fan Expo. Most of them are part of Artist Elite, which is a freaking awesome group
Yeah.
now of guys. Or they're part of Merc, they're part of Coffin, they're part of,
Hmm.
and we're not even talking big two, big three. We're talking just within the independent areas. You get to know, and they want to know who you are. They care,
Yeah.
and that's a big thing that you don't get from the big ones anymore. It's like I
Hmm.
remember in the '90s when I got to meet Jim Lee and Chris Claremont, had them sign my X-Men #1, and then sign my first Jubilee and first Gambit, and the cost of signatures were free back then. But
Yeah.
now, if I go get it, $300, $400 per person, and it's like they forgot where they came from.
Yeah. Jim, I mean, you have to buy a package at Cincinnati Expo just to see Jim.
Yeah, same here at Fan Expo here. You got to buy the VIP package,
Hmm.
and that gets you one photo and one signature, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's crazy. It's like,
it is it's tough because they're the ones that sort of started the indie scene with Image, and they quickly worked their way up through the ranks, and now it's I kind of get it because everyone would want to be there picking their brain and all that, but also be humble. Like George Perez was one of the
oh
most
yeah,
humble men that I had the opportunity. Like, I was at C2E2 setting up, and before the shows started, I was able to walk around, end up meeting one of my favorite artists that I studied when I first started getting into this, was Todd Knock.
hmm.
And he made me feel so welcome. I never thought I'd ever meet him because he was all the way in California, and I'm just a little guy in Eaton, and here we were at the exact same show. But walking around, I see George just sitting at a table just like us in Artist Alley, not a guest spot. He was just at an Artist Alley table. It was an end cap or an end so that his line didn't affect anybody, but he was taking his time with every single person that walked up to his table. He signed anything that people wanted. He was just so genuine. So it's like you see that, but then there's others that you have to pay $100 just to see, and I'm like, I don't like that. Like,
Uh,
I have a hard time charging people for signatures when, um, like, I sign anything for free. Like,
mm,
but if you want my COA, I only charge $5 for it, only because that's about the cost of printing it.
plenty,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Other than that, like, I don't charge. I charge $20 for remarks. just because it takes a lot of time for because I use paint. I don't do
Yeah.
a quick scribble. I actually layer paint on them, and you know, I I can't see me ever raising my prices on those just because I know the time it takes, and I I feel like that's what it's worth. You know, where I set up with one guy. I don't want to say his name, and I was actually at the show with him, and I had one of the books, and I asked him directly. I said, "How much for just a quick zombie sketch inside of the book?" He never say a word. His wife chimed in, and she goes, "That'd be 200." I said, "Oh, never mind. I'm good. I'll just take a signature then." Like it was kind of off putting, and I was so excited to meet him and be setting up with him, and that immediately turned me off. I'm like, "Oh, okay, never mind." And
Well, it's like when
like,
I talk, like when I talk to Arthur. Like, I mean, I understand his cost because of
yeah,
the painting. You know,
the painting,
he's a
absolutely.
painter. He is not a sketch artist. He is not. You know, he's a painter, and they're in their own little world of things that they do on that.
Yeah, him and
Um,
Alex Ross, and yeah,
oh yeah,
painters are insane.
you know, so I get it why they charge what they do because of the time and the effort that they do. So I get it.
Hmm.
But signatures to me should always be free. Period. Dot. It costs you what 1 second to sign that thing, and that
Yeah,
guy could have been sitting in that line for hours waiting just to get your signature. And now he's going to go through and he's going to have to spend $200 just on a signature. To me, I mean that's a little excessive. Um,
yeah.
you know, it's like but in mind we were talking about Pedro Pascal, you know, like
Mhm.
he's huge now because of Last of Us. You know, but before
Mandalorian. Oh man,
but but before the Mandalorian and before Last of Us, nobody knew who he was. He had a couple of movies here and there and whatnot. And
he was
so
in Wonder Woman
yeah, exactly.
'84.
You know, it's like so he was a nobody at that point. But now because he's Star Wars and because he's HBO,
Hmm.
he wants $400 for a signature.
Yeah,
And it's like and I think that's why I don't like, you know, conventions that are tailored towards celebrities. If I go to a comic convention, I want to see comics, I want to see comic writers, artists,
hmm,
and I want to see new people I've not seen before because I want to read their stuff. It's something new. I met a guy named Andrew Gibbon. He did this little like series out here. And it's just a local guy. And it was like it was supposed to be like you know Pig, you know, and Batman, you know, the
hmm,
Mr. Pig, you know, the kind of the guy.
yeah,
It was similar to that style, but it was like, what if he was actually a good guy instead of a
hmm.
bad guy? Kind of. I'm like, okay, you know, but that's what we're supposed to do as fans is don't get ingrained so much that you forget to try something new. You
Yes,
know,
yes,
it's like, and it's okay, like to have the groups that you love, the comics that you love and stuff, but also give new things a chance too. I try to like I've been reading stranger comics, like Dusu, you know, The Untamed and stuff like that, just to give them a chance because I've never read it before. Um, Phenomenal writing, and you know, Sebastian Jones does some great writing in there, and they've got like Mark May, he did some artwork in there too. So
hmm,
it's like I like to branch out and read that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm telling everybody, like, you know, if you've watched this, give Adam a chance. If you never heard of
hmm.
him, great. Go get his Prowl number one. I put the link down in the comments below
Yeah, so I appreciate it.
for Prowl One Remastered because you know what? And it's funny. Like I wish this would be a ironic part. I wish you had the original issue number one as an add-on. That
Oh,
way, that way people could see the today versus before, and then they could see the evolution of you as an artist, you know. And so trying to push that a little bit forward is that people do grow over time, that they do things differently, and it's okay. Now, you were talking about artists like sitting down talking to them.
hmm,
I remember I went to San Diego Comic Con. Neil Adams has always been my favorite artist of all time. You know, I
hmm.
remember reading Danny O'Neill, having Giordano as the inker, George Perez, you know, Marv Wolfman. those were my original guys. So I got to meet Neil for the first time there. And he has like 5 tables, of
Yeah,
books and stuff. He always had a bunch of stuff. So rest in peace, Neil. Um,
absolutely.
he's the same way as George, though. He'll sit there
Mhm.
and he'll talk your ear off. Like I sat there for like an hour with him. He's like, "You come sit down over here. I want to talk to you about books." And he was like, "In my day," and this is like the old man going to the kid. In my day with books, I'm like, that was like 10 years ago for me. you know, is like 10 years ago, I finally read Green Lantern 76. Like as a kid, I grew up reading those. And I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, this is awesome. He's a living legend from the
Mhm.
1960s and 70s. So I brought in my X-Men 56, that he had did on the cover. I'm like, will you sign this? He said, oh yeah, I'll sign it. He signs it, and he throws it over to Denny. Denny signs it. Dick, and I'm like, I'm just thinking about the book. I'm like, oh crap, that book's going to be done. It's going to get dropped somewhere in the middle of this convention. And it was one of the funniest things in the world. So he did that, and then I ended up picking up his Absolute Edition of Green Lantern from
Yeah.
DC. And I'm like, you guys got to sign it. I want to, So it was one of the coolest things ever, um, because he didn't charge you for
Mm-mm.
signatures. Neil never charged for signatures. He would charge you for remarks and drawings and sketches and stuff, and they were
Mhm.
expensive. They were 50, $100, $200,
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
But that's the standard going rate today, though. If you
Mhm.
think about it, most remarks are 20 to 50. If you want just a bust, that's $100. You want it colored, 200 to 250 at a convention. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of artists and stuff, they'll do different deals at home or pre-con prices. First recommendation: if you have an artist or a writer and they have a pre-show commission list, get on that list, please. You're going
Yeah.
to save yourself some money, and you know what? You guaranteed something, because I did that with William Russell. I did that with Anna Zuo and
Mhm.
Lauren Wright. Save yourself some money and time, folks. I don't know if Adam, if you do that or not,
Mhm.
but I figured you probably do.
Yep.
And it's just because it helps. Lets you know how many you got to do at the con,
Yeah.
and B, it tells the people, okay, am I going to get in on this round or not? You know,
So yeah, the way I like to do it is if I take a pre-show like order, I'm not doing it at the show. I'm delivering it at the show.
exactly.
Like, and the thing is, I only will take maybe five. I think one time I took 10. Like that was my max though, and I had really not a lot going on at that time. So I'm like, I can squeeze in, and I did. I delivered them all to the show, and nothing's a better feeling than when I'm sitting there talking to another person. Because let's face it, at conventions, depending on the size of them, I try to be as busy as possible just by talking to somebody. And if you're interacting with somebody, it's naturally going to draw more people to you. So the last thing I want to do is have my head down, working on stuff, and missing anyone that walks by. My wife is really good about, saying hello to people. If I'm working on something, I almost want to put a little bell on my head so they can ring for service if I'm by myself, because I miss a lot. So the last thing I want to do is be stuck working on 5, 10 pieces and miss the opportunity to talk to somebody. So if I'm talking to someone and you've already ordered a commission, you come up, I'm going to say I've done this a handful of times where I'm like, you want to see something cool, because they've only seen the picture of it, and when I hand it to them, their reaction gets this person interested, and then that draws everybody else in, and it's like they all got to experience that moment of them seeing their artwork for the very first time, and it just makes it that much more special to them. So that moment is what I work my butt off for, just to see that. Like I was at Horror Hound one year, and I did a the Riddler from the Batman. I love that costume. And when I delivered it to the guy, him and his friends literally cheered, and everyone just stopped and looked at him. That was the first I've ever had somebody literally cheer that loud. I went, oh, it was awkward. I don't know what to do about this. Like, everyone's looking, and I was with Bell Book and Comic, and they looked and said, "What did Adam do?" Like, I don't know. but it was just really, it makes me as an artist feel really good that they enjoyed it that much. That that was the reaction, the go-to reaction. So if you do get on one of my lists, you're not gonna have to wait. You just walk up to my table, I hand it to you. And the best thing about that is I'm gonna hold on to it safely for you. So if you're walking around the con and you want to pick it up right before you leave, you don't have to worry about it. You just go. And if you want to get it graded and CGC or CGCS is there, you grab the witness, they can see it, and you get it yellow labeled right there. So you save yourself a whole bunch of time and energy and money on that. So it's a win to jump on someone's list at it before a show for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because we have CBCS here in Dallas,
Hmm.
so I will just take stuff directly to them, just drop it off because it's
Lucky.
well, you could send me your stuff and I could do it for you, but or you have a guy that does it for you, but
Yeah.
I've
Hey,
done
I,
that.
I could have two guys if I need to.
Well, that's okay. You could always use me, so to speak. Use.
Absolutely.
Um,
We can talk backstage.
yep. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. Is it's nice to have CBCS here because of that reason.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also nice too that the old days they wouldn't let artists do what they do today, and that where the artist can submit the books now,
Yeah.
without having the witness. But now they say, hey, we understand it's the actual artist doing it, or so they let you guys do that. So all you have to do is fill out the form. Here you go.
Yep.
It's me. I'm giving it to my associate, as they're called, and that's what I've been for years as associate. And it's so they understand it's really from you. CBCS is a little bit more lenient, of course, than CGC. CGC is hard as nails about it. They're like
Yeah.
literally, if you're not on their list, you can't do it either. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I'm lucky. I have the account. I'm on their list.
yeah, you got lucky with that because I've seen some people who still struggling to get that. And it's like, I don't
Hmm.
understand that. Maybe it's because I'm a little jaded and I'm old, but it's like if I'm the artist, I'm telling you, it's me. That should be good enough. I'm
Yeah.
submitting it too.
With CB or CGC, it kind of sucks because I can't submit my own online to get yellow label. Anytime I go do the signature series drop down, I have to pick a certain name, and it's always for a signing. So
Yeah,
I can't. So I have to use a third party facilitator to send it, or trust that my form is enough if I send it directly to CGC if the fan has an account number. So there's a lot of logistics with the grading side of things, and I wish it was a little more streamlined. So that's why I just like yourself, I use somebody that's more knowledgeable than me because I just want to see it in slabs. That's all I care about. How it happens. Here's my form. Here's the art. Do the magic.
exactly. And that's what we do. And like for me, ironically, I have maybe four slabs in my collection, and that's it.
Right?
Everything else, everything else is raw. Like I mean, even like all my sign books, I don't care if it gets slabbed. I got it signed because I wanted it signed.
Hmm.
Now, granted, if I was a smart man, I would have got Neil Adams and I would have got Denny O'Neil and all them to sign and slap my book a long time ago. But
Yeah.
you never know. Yeah, I mean, you never know
You
what's gonna
don't.
happen. You can't, and it's just like okay, like with George passing away this last year. I got one of his last books. He did. He did it, and I was like, I gotta have that book, and and it's signed by Perez. It's one of his last signature books.
Mm.
And I'm like, I'm always going to cherish that because same thing. I met him. I met Wolfman. I had them all sign my Crisis on Infinite Earths. My whole 12-book series. I'm like, you three sit down and you just start signing because I said I'm not leaving. And I'm like 21 years old at this point. This is 20 years ago. I'm like, can you guys just sign all these books? Like, oh yeah, we don't care. They just had fun
Mm.
sign it. It's one of the most cherished I'm not gonna say valuable things I have, but the most cherished things I have is that
Yeah.
I had fun just sitting down talking to them, and they were telling me stories of like the '60s and '70s of like starting out, and now we have people like you who started out within the last 20, 30 years,
Hmm.
It's the same thing. It's an evolution of it, is what it is. And but that's how we keep it going. We keep more people
Yeah.
involved. We have fun with it, and we just keep rolling with it until it's not fun anymore. When it's not fun anymore, then okay, maybe it's time to let somebody else do it or start teaching. I've seen a lot of people do that lately too. It's like they don't want to be the cover artist anymore. They don't want to, they want to go do interiors. They'll change and go do interiors for a while, or they'll go do inking or color. It's like as an artist, I believe that you can always change to make it fit for you at the time that you're at. That you can have fun no matter what you're doing, but also take a break when you need a break too. That's
Yeah.
a
It's
very good question, actually.
what's a good
When is
question.
Adam's next convention? Where are you going next?
Shoot. So my next thing is Bell Book and Comic on Free Comic Book Day on May 6th. My next con is June 11th at the Jim and Dan's Comic and Toy Show in Dayton. Um, let's see, is that Alex? Yeah, okay. So we're trying to find Gym City would probably be one that he can go to on July 22nd, 23rd. Trying to find something a little closer to him. But I do have all my current cons listed on my website, midnight27studios.com, because I'm in
Yep.
talks right now with Erica Martin, the author that I do all the covers for. She and I might be doing a con in Kentucky in October. So I'm still adding events here and there. Basically, these are just rollover events from stuff from last year that I just booked for this year. I didn't make it into C2E2. I didn't make it into Motor City. So I was kind of bummed about. I was looking forward, being up here this close. I'm like, that's
Motor
not
City
going to be
should
too
have an
hard.
easy one.
I know, but I got rejected. So I'm like, okay, maybe next year. So I'm I'm still trying, but again, I know Motor City is a good one, but I'm always hesitant about these pop culture shows. I it's
I
always a
got
toss up.
I got one for you that you should do. So you want to go do comics, just straight comics? We have
Uh-huh.
one here in Fort Worth called Cowtown Comic Convention. So
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it. William Russell does that one, doesn't he?
yeah, last time we had William, we had Mike DeBalfo, Marat Michaels, Marissa
Yeah.
Pope, Ariel Diaz was there, Lauren Wright.
Oh,
Lauren Wright was
Ariel's
there.
one that I want to meet.
She is
She
awesome.
is she's
She,
fantastic.
and she's so nice to meet in person too.
Hmm.
She's always busy. Don't get me wrong, she's always busy at a convention, but
Oh yeah.
she'll take the time to say, "Hey, how you doing?" Take 5 minutes. But yeah, it's a comic convention. It's not a toy show, whatever. To me, I think
Okay.
you would be great. Bill Anders was there this last year.
Oh.
So Bill was there. And so me and him, we were talking about his Samurai Jill book. I'm like, this is awesome. This is a freaking, it's a, I'll have to shoot you the book. It's a freaking
Yeah.
amazing book to read. But yeah, we just had fun. We sat there for all day just talking about
It
books and
looked
stuff.
good. Yeah, I've seen a lot of pictures from that. So I'm I personally like Texas. I was only down there for a business trip when I was at my old job. We were doing a fryer install at a grocery in Tyler, Texas, and I actually really liked it down there. So any chance I get to go down there, I would try to catch up with my buddy Kerry Valerie, try to hit up with him, uh, and a few other of my friends down in Texas. But yeah, when is that one?
It's in. Let me see. It's in October. Let me see when.
See, October. I have nothing booked. That's why I was looking for this one in Kentucky. Hopefully, they're not the same time. That would suck.
September 30th through October 1st, and they only do Saturday and Sunday. They don't do anything on Fridays.
That's good. Do they allow setup on Fridays? I'm
Oh
assuming.
yeah, yeah. So, do you know Chris Hayes?
The
So
name
Chris
sounds
Hayes,
familiar.
he runs Charter Comics with William. So Chris, he works with Ken Salinas. Chris owns. He's pretty much the runner of Cowtown, but he also owns
Hmm.
Pastime Comics, and he's also the owner of Charter Comics. So don't the Ferryman stories, the
Yeah,
Psycho
yeah,
Sal, and then Orphan Bloodline from all those are under Charter, and so they all run through him. So yeah, definitely Chris, would be the best person to reach out to. Um, but yeah, I mean, they're still good.
yeah.
And yeah,
I'd be
the
interested in that.
registration's still open for vendors. Um, let's see, an inline 10 by 10 booth, inline booth is 250, a corner booth 270.
That's it.
That's it. That's the catch. And like, let's see. So far this year, they haven't put everybody yet. We've got Colin Bunn's going to be there. Ken Salinas Williams going to be there, of course. Ben Dunn, you know Ben, right?
I do. I worked with him on a couple things.
He owns Antarctic. We
Yep.
got Peter Smith.
So I did Leave on the Light issue 3,
Hmm.
and then I worked with him directly on his Ninja High School kids.
Oh yeah,
The the one, it was like all the indie characters. Trying to think what it was called. I have it on my store. I'll have to look. But yeah, I had a 16-page story in there.
and see, we got Zach Spivey, Jason Turner. Let's see, yeah, Ben, Ron Leary,
Indie
Ar-
Wars.
Ariel's going to be there too.
Okay.
So yeah, and they're just starting out. Like I said, last year we had Mike and Marat. Marat comes down because Marat's from Austin.
I
Uh, but,
I want to meet Murat. I've done a couple of the Pooh covers. Uh, I think I've done 7 or 8 of them. I would like to meet Murat. I've talked to him online here and there, but he's one that I would actually like to sit down and just chat with. He
he's
seems like a
fun
cool dude.
because last year during Fan Expo, Marat wasn't even supposed to be there. And then I walk it over, and because the way they had Artist Alley, it was like for the indie side, it was all like a curve like this, and then there
Hmm.
was a couple of tables like long ways in the main ones because we had Unknown Comics, we had Comics Elite, and then we had them. Marat sits up, brings up this own table, sets it up, shows up. I'm like, what are you doing? You're not even on the list. He's like, I just thought I'd come down and set up. Okay, and he's just one of the most easiest people to talk to.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Yeah.
it was fun because it was Marat, it was Ryan, we had Alan Shaw was there, we had Freddie Williams. Freddie Williams is a hoot, dude. If you ever get
I
a chance to Freddie, oh my god, dude, it's fun just to talk because his
I
wife will be there
ordered
with him too.
I ordered directly from Freddy his Godzilla and Power Ranger blanks. I have
Hmm.
2 of them. Uh, he's one that I really, really would like to meet.
Yeah, I mean it was a blast. Tyler Kirkham was there.
Ooh,
Um, so because they're all part of Artist Elite, and then Ali Garza was there. Somebody else, who else
okay.
was Ben Templesmith was there too. So I mean, I will say Fan Expo is great for having all those ones. But you have to get through all the celebrities. Get away from the celebrity stuff. Go to the actual Artist Alley, and they have a bunch. But Cowtown is just about comics. So to me, that's where for independent people, that's really a big one. It really is because you get to have fun and it's comics, and that's all it is. It's like 181 Comics is there, Pastime Collectibles, my local Duncanville bookstore, they're there. And I mean, and you can walk the whole convention hall in probably 2 hours, 3 hours just to walk it,
Cool.
but you're going to spend more time talking to everybody.
Yeah, and those are the fun shows. It, I love Cincinnati for multiple reasons, but I I've heard so many people just get lost. And what's funny is I'm not one of those guys that's at a table and will yell at someone. So again, going back to if people are picking up stuff from me at a show and I see you walk by, I'm not gonna be like, "Hey, come here real quick." I'm just not that guy because I know you're probably just walking around. When you're ready, you'll come see me. That's the way I sort of operate. But if I see you 4 or 5 times doing this, like looking around, like I don't where, then I'm gonna call you on you. Cincinnati is that way. C2E2
Mm,
is that way. It you're just like, hey, are you looking for me? And they're like, oh yeah, how'd I miss you? Easily. There's 1,000 people in this aisle. Like
mhm,
it can get. So I like those smaller cons where you can take your time and you don't feel rushed because there's not a flood of people pushing you, just to get by. So yeah, I'm interested. I've seen a lot of good stuff about Cowtown, and I think it's time for me to head back down south.
oh yeah, you definitely can. We'll definitely have fun.
Oh
And
yeah,
and I
I
always
just got
have
to
a
learn how
cat.
to get my stuff down.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you need a place to stay, we always have extra room here. So if your wife and kids can't come, you can always hang out here.
I appreciate that.
You
Just
know,
now, how do I get my stuff down?
you mail it to me, I'll keep it for you.
Oh, ooh, I can do that.
Say,
Yeah,
you forget
see,
I'm a business guy too.
you are. No, this is. I think this is. I'll check my calendar and make sure everything. And if all goes well, I'll happily fly down to Texas and hang out at Cowtown. That'd be a fun time, especially with tables that cheap.
Oh
Mm,
yeah, 252. I mean, it's because it's a small town. It's a small town convention. It's not the C2E2s. It's not the Fan Fest, the Fan Expos. It's not the big ones.
yeah.
Like I was blown away. Like I hadn't been to an expo, Fan Expo, in years. So when I went this last year to Dallas, I was blown away, like how big it is. But I will tell you what I like about Fan Expo compared to say San Diego Comic Con. They split it up. Like you have all the convention, like celebrity stuff in one area, and then the
Hmm.
comics in another. And to get to Artist Alley, you go through and you're seeing all these new artists and new writers too. So
Mm,
I'm okay with that. That's okay. What
yeah.
I'm not okay with is like San Diego, where it's in your face everywhere. It's always personality stuff or celebrity stuff, toy
Yeah.
stuff. Everybody's in lines to get toys and stuff. I'm like, I'm not about that. If I'm going to spend money,
No.
it's going to be on comics. When I go to a convention, it's about comic books. Or like when I go to Texas Frightmare, this
Mhm.
year, it's about horror stuff. I'm buying horror movies. I'm buying horror, whatever. That's what I'm going there
Do they
for.
have artists?
They do. They have artists there too. And usually it's like one year, they had Arthur was there one year.
Mm,
He was
yeah.
there. Then they had the Frazetta girls. His daughters. They actually have their own company called Frazetta Girls, and they
Hmm.
sell Death Dealer stuff and stuff like that. They were there, and then you'll find like horror comic stuff there too. Like Aquitas might be there because they do. Oh my God, the horror anthology you see, and like I'm really shocked. Like Charter Comics isn't there because
Hmm.
99% of Charter Comic stuff is horror based almost.
Yeah.
Um, but they might be this year because they were going to a new. Um, let's see, yeah, and so like this year we're going to a new area, and so we should have a lot more room because it was elbow to elbow last year in the hotel because they had
Wow.
down at like how those hotel convention ones are.
Yeah, and that's the one. Like Jeff Harper, that's the way his are. They're always in a hotel. And my very first time doing one in Columbus, I was kind of disappointed because the artists were actually in the hallway. I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. No, it
That's
was amazing.
how they had Retro Expo was like that last year. We had some old guys like Michael Golden. We
Hmm.
had who else was there? Actually, Austin St. John was there in the hallway with the artists. Yeah, like this is a small. I mean, it's all about the vintage toys is what it's about.
Nice.
So you had
Let,
like
let's let you get in the hall.
exactly. Like it was Austin St. John. It was him. Let's see who else was there. Nolan, Kenneth Nolan.
Hmm.
You know, he did the old Batman books. He was in the
Hmm.
hallway. They had Rags Morales. He was in the hallway. It was funny to see like I know who all you are. You know, as artists. You know, I'm like, why are you out here
And you're
versus
here.
in there? They're like, that's where all the toys are. So and all the
That's
artists are.
funny.
It was funny, but this retro expo this year that I went to because they do two a year for the spring. I did do the spring one already. Um, it was all mixed up. You know, it was like everything was inside because they had a bigger space. Um, but man, I love finding those old artists that nobody wants to go talk to anymore because nobody knows who they are anymore. You know, like
Mm-mm.
Jim Steranko. Like, dude, I would love to sit down with Jim Steranko and just start talking
He's
about it.
amazing. I've met him two or three times at cons. The dude is awesome. He likes talking about his comic stuff, but if you start talking about his magic and as he was a escape artist,
Yeah.
he won't shut up. He's amazing. And that hair,
Oh, dude, the perfect hair from in the leisure suits that he wears. And I saw
yes,
I, I saw him in San Diego Con one time. And I didn't have time to go talk. I'm like the big teeth, the hair, the leisure suit. Like he is the '70s. When you
yeah,
see
he's
him,
Hollywood, man.
he is it. And it's like I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Uh, but everybody was telling me like he is such a personable person too, though,
Hmm.
to talk to. Like he don't care. He has fun because he's got nothing. But what does Jim Steranko have to lose, really? You know, it's
Right,
like
right, nothing.
you know, So I was like, because I had him on my list of books. Like I had the Punisher book. I'm like, I want you to sign
Yeah,
my book. I'm like, but I didn't get a chance to go because San Diego is so big. Like
yeah,
trying to get through it in one day. Good luck. You need the
yeah.
two
You
or three
can't.
days. Um,
You can't.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
he. I think he's coming back to Youngstown Comic Con because he was scheduled to be there in 2020. Then the world got grounded, and then Youngstown didn't happen for another year, and it's just now firing back up this year. So, and I love the way they do their floor. They don't have like an artist alley or anything. They have like their celebrities on one side. At least they used to at the Gavelli Center. Now it's over at the Canfield Fairgrounds. It's going to be a lot bigger. But the way they used to do it was everyone was mixed. So you're forced to walk through the whole show to see everything. So you would see an artist, you'd see a shirt vendor, a toy vendor, there's a comic vendor, there's someone selling, nail wraps, and there's another artist, and then it's just random stuff. So if you have ADD, it's beautiful. You're just like, oh, this is great. Oh, here's another thing. I loved it, but it forced you to walk through. Whereas I know some people like you love to spend your time at Artist Alley and looking at the comics and stuff, where some people avoid that and they just beeline to the celebrities, and then they don't really experience the con.
no,
And
they
I'm like,
don't.
man, you paid all that money. At least go walk around, and see what treasures are out there. But
And
hey,
I feel bad for them because
yeah,
literally they've spent the 10, 20, or even $50 depending on the convention to walk in
right,
just to stand in a line for 4 hours to get one person's signature and then they leave. Like they
yeah,
get the signature and then I'm like I turned around at Expo. I'm like, dude, you walked in with me. Where you go?
hmm,
Oh, I'm heading out. I'm done. Dude, you see there's like 80 artists, right? Or you see there's all these people. Oh no, I came to get this one signature and that was it. I'm like, you do know,
like,
right, that most celebrities in them they have a way to get signatures, right? They have a
yeah,
PR person. You call the PR person and say, "Hey, can I get a signature for this?" And they'll tell you exactly how much it's going to cost. You mail it to them, they sign it, they send it back to you. You didn't have to waste your whole time at a convention just to go do that. It's like,
yeah.
no, but I wanted the picture. Okay, how much that cost you? 300. Holy crap, dude, that's a lot of money for a picture.
It's yeah. They just like last year in Huntington, they had Chuck Norris there, and I
Ooh,
think over half the con was in his line at one time because the floor was completely dead, and then all of a sudden there was just an influx of people, and I'm like, they were all just trying to screw because they had maybe 2 hours left of the con after his line died down because he wasn't there at the right beginning, but everyone wanted to be first in line, so of course they're gonna wait. And then when they finally showed up, it took them that long to get through, and I'm like, you guys wasted your whole Saturday here for one guy.
Mm,
Meanwhile, we're all sitting here waiting to just talk to you. So yeah, it's
yeah,
weird.
and I think that's why, like for me, celebrities isn't a big thing. It's like
Mhm.
if now I say that, and I'll say this though: if I could have met Brandon Lee, I would have waited forever to meet Brandon Lee.
Yeah,
Or Bruce Lee. Because
yeah.
they're some of my favorite people I've ever watched on TV. Period. Dot. Or
Hmm.
like when I go to a horror place, I'll wait in line for Ken Foree forever because he was in Dawn of the Dead and then he was in Texas Chainsaw Leatherface.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'll see him like, dude, I gotta talk to you. Yeah, tell me how it was because there's some of these guys, these older guys from movies and stuff. They're nobodies now because
Hmm.
nobody knows what those movies are. It's not
No,
popular. It's not an MCU movie. It's not a DC movie. So when you
right?
go see them, they're just hanging out. They're the Virgils from WWF time frame. Virgil that used to go to every convention in the world, and he just said,
Hmm.
there. Yep, I sat with Ted DiBiase. I charge you $50 for a signature. Virgil, nobody cares. Nobody wants your signature. You
No.
know, but I have a blast seeing those old guys that do that. Like I'd love to meet Benicio del Toro. That would be an
Yeah.
awesome experience. To meet him, meet Sam Raimi. I met Bruce Campbell several times. And he's a hoot to talk to. But it's
Oh, I
like
bet.
and
I
just
bet.
I was there for when his book came out. If Chins Could Kill, I went to a book signing. He did a Barnes and Noble, and he's sitting there doing like, and this is supposed to be a 2 hour like book signing, becomes an 8 hour event of him going through half of the Evil Dead movie and Army of Darkness, doing quotes, taking pictures with fans and stuff. And finally, Barnes and Noble pretty much kicked him out. Said, "Hey, we got to actually have business today too." I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I had fun because they're B actors. They're not the celebrity
Yeah.
A actors. Um,
Right. I,
yeah,
I
man.
know at Horror Hound, my son's first time. Like, my only mission that weekend. You know, I'm always there to sell books and prints or whatever. But my mission that weekend was for him to meet Matthew Lillard
Yeah.
because he loves Scream, and that's my favorite franchise of all
Ah.
time is Scream. And so we waited in line. We were the third one in line. So I waited, and when he showed up with Skeet Ulrich and Nev Campbell and Jamie Kennedy. They were, Matthew walked through the entire line, high fiving every single person. He was so personal. Nev brought him coffee, and it was just cool to see them all interact. And when we finally got to meet him, my son is 6'3". I'm 5'8". All right.
Mm.
So Matthew is also about 6 foot. I'd say 6'4" or whatever. He's just a little taller than Zach, and he could have cared less. Like I did a Ghostface sketch, and I brought one of my action figures that I remarked, and I wanted him to sign next to it. So he signed. He goes, "You draw this?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Awesome." He complimented. And he goes, "Who's this?" I said, "This is my son." He goes, "What's up, handsome?" And like he stood up, and like they were like looking eye to eye, and I'm just in the back going, "This is kind of cool." He didn't care I was there. He was just more enthralled with my oldest son, and that made his entire weekend. It was his. I think it might even still be his profile picture, or his cover photo, or something. So it's those type of moments. I'm like, I like that. I'll wait for that guy. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was my favorite interaction.
Well, it's like this year we have John Carpenter coming.
Oh, nice.
So, and it's John Carpenter, Nick Castle, the original, The
Ooh,
Shape, is going to be here. And then we've got three others from Halloween, the original movie. The PJ Souls, the girl,
yeah.
she's going to be here. The
Okay.
other girl, and the only person really missing is Jamie Lee Curtis. We
Jamie
don't,
Lee. Yeah.
we don't have Jamie Lee, but I'm like, okay, that's awesome. That's just one section of Texas Frightmare. We've got
That's
all of the Chiodo brothers who did all the Killer Clowns, the Critters, and stuff. They're going to be here. We've got
Mm.
everybody minus Kurt Russell from The Thing. So that's what I'm going for. I'm going for The Thing because it's one of my favorite movies of all time of Carpenter's, and I'm like, and that's what I'm going to bring. I'm going to bring my original VHS that I have of The
Oh,
Thing.
nice.
I'm going to say I want you all to sign it, and I'm going to give it to Carpenter to sign. I'm like, Carpenter, I want you to sign this one. I'll have a Halloween one too, but it's
Yeah,
about The Thing to me. It's the most important one. I'm like, oh yeah,
that's such a good movie.
oh yeah.
So good. Yeah, I I'm trying to branch out from like Comic Cons. I'm really, like I said, the crypto one was really fun. I want to find more horror ones. That's why I was asking about that one. Like, when is that one? That'd be kind of fun to do. Because my werewolf comic, I'm trying to add a little more horror into it. Like, there's some side stories that I'm going to get into eventually that do give a little more of the slasher feel versus
Hmm.
the superhero esque vigilante. Because I didn't want a superhero book. I wanted something a little darker, but he's still kind of a hero. More of a cryptid in his own right. But yeah, I will lean more towards horror.
Well, and like Texas Frightmare is going to be May 26th to the 28th. So as of right now, we've got Sam Raimi's coming too. Um, and let's see who else. Let's see, where's the guest list?
So May 26th. Ooh, I
May
don't have anything
26th
that
to
week.
28th. Let's see, we've got the person who played the nun, uh,
Oh,
uh, Bonnie Aarons. She's going to be here. The Dakota Beavers. He's the guy from Prey. He'll be here. Chiodo
mm.
brothers will be here. Nick Castle. We've got the
You guys have
Thing.
that guy that played Art the Clown. I can't
Yeah,
think of his name. Is he
he,
going to be
he,
there?
yep. We've got all of them.
Oh,
And let's see. We've got the new Michael Myers from the new trilogy will be here.
okay.
Sleepaway Camp. We've got the Wishmaster Andrew Divoff. He'll be here.
Ooh.
Zach Galligan from Gremlins. He'll be here. Cheryl Lee. Let's see. Yep, Mike Martinez, the clown. He'll be here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
David Morrissey. Of course, Edwin Neal. He lives locally. He's the
Oh.
one that played the guy in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The one that it cut himself in the
Mm-hmm.
van. He'll be here. Sam Raimi, Ted Raimi, Andrew Robinson from Hellraiser, Tom Savini, Felissa Rose. Uh, I'm excited to meet David Howard Thornton. So he's the clown. He's Art the Clown from Terrifier.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can't.
He's a kind of an up and comer too in the horror
Hmm.
genre. He was also the mean one in the Grinch.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm like, man, this is a guy to watch.
Yeah.
The Terrifier movies. I haven't seen the second one yet, but the first one I absolutely loved, and I've heard the second one was even better. So I just need to not have my kids with me so I
Yeah.
can watch it.
Well, and check out the original Terrifier too, All Hallows Eve,
Yeah.
because it's a different person playing Art the Clown.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. And you'll
That
see
was
like
his first appearance, and then the Terrifier,
yeah,
right? Was
yeah, yeah. All
okay.
Hallows is the first one. Terrifier, David Houghton took over, for it, and then
Hmm.
Terrifier 2 he's in. So I'm like, I mean, it threw me away watching the first short story. I'm like, you can see where Art the Clown was really getting built up in the first like
Hmm.
prequel movie. But you weren't ready for it when you saw the first
No,
Terrifier.
I feel like he's going to be right up there with the most iconic horror characters. Like you see Freddy Krueger, you see Chucky, Michael Myers, Leatherface, you see Jason, all them, and then Ghostface has snuck in there with their successes. And then I think Art the Clown is going to be right up there with them as the most recognizable face. Them and Sam from Trick or Treat.
He's going to be here too. Quinn Lore.
Oh, Oh, I love it. So, my wife has not seen Trick or Treat yet, and I said
What?
you're missing out. It is one of the most underrated movies for Halloween.
Mm.
A lot of I'm surprised at how many people haven't seen Trick or Treat.
Because it's older. Remember, like
Yeah,
we're talking like movies like 15 years old.
yeah.
So, so if
I
you
still
weren't,
think it holds up well.
it does, especially for the CGI that was used in some of it. I mean, it
Yeah,
doesn't look it because remember 15 years ago we were stuck within like that new horror stuff. Like
yeah,
I will say Cabin in the Woods is still one of my favorites because it's funny to watch. I'll watch it. I'll
absolutely.
watch it 100 times over. But
I
there's a
do
lot
too.
of them that didn't really hold well. Like even Paranormal Activity. Like I remember watching that when it first came out, the first couple, and then it
Hmm.
kind of got dumb after the third or fourth one.
Yeah,
It's the same thing over and over again. Okay, I get it. But then I'm also the sucker that'll buy the box set because I'll watch it again because it's a horror
yeah,
movie. That's what we do, you know.
yeah.
Um, but we had that one. You had Jeepers Creepers. You had
Yep.
um, Final Destination. And
But I introduced
all
my wife to those. She was like, "Oh my god."
yeah. My favorite part ever, still from Final Destination, is where the fence wire gets torn off. It goes and it slices the guy's head off. And I'm
Yeah,
just like, and it's like such a clean cut too.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Reminds me
there's
of the opening of Ghost Ship.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
wow,
best opening. Now, anytime I'm on the road and I see a log truck, I will immediately go around it. I don't care. I don't trust them. Thanks to that movie. But yeah, Cabin in the Woods is one of my absolute favorites. It's so meta. It makes fun of every single genre. It's the best. It does the formula right, just like Scream will flat out call it out. It built a whole plot around the tropes in,
yeah.
in horror movies. I loved it. It's perfect.
That's what I loved about the end of And sorry if we're spoiling this for you, but okay, it's been out for like 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but at the end where they show every monster getting loose and every like little like you were really waiting to see like Freddy jump out, Leatherface,
Yeah.
or like one of the big four to jump out and like because they had every kaiju in the world. They had
Yeah.
their own King Kong. They had this the snake part, dude. I love that snake part coming through the
Snake was
elevator.
killer.
I'm like, that's awesome.
And
And
then
I'm like, come on
they
now.
had their own version of Pinhead, I believe. He had like
They
a
did, yeah,
razor head. The the faceless girl, or the girl with the mouth, they. And the thing is, I watched the behind the scenes of that. They made all of that
yeah,
for like 3 seconds of screen time, but they dove all in on the practical effects. I'm like, and then the mermaid or the merman,
oh yeah.
it's just. I'm like, I want to see a whole franchise of just that thing. That was awesome.
Well, and that was what I didn't understand was I'm like at the end, they come out and they say, okay, it's a bigger plot. Like we have to do this, or the old ones will come kill the world.
Hmm.
But they never showed you exactly what happened at the end. That all
Yeah,
it just stopped. I'm like, dude, you left it open for a sequel. We should have a
easily.
sequel to this
We
one.
should.
No crappy
We
sequels
should.
either, but like a real one.
Yeah, it was that was such a good movie. Um, I, I'm just I love horror movies. They are therapeutic to me. I don't know if that says a lot about me, but I find them one. I love the like who did it ones. Scream. We
Hmm.
just saw six. I won't spoil anything, but I try my hardest to guess throughout the entire time, and I find that so fun and immersive. And then there are the straight slashers where it is, Jason, where's he going to come from next? How
Yeah.
did he catch up? Like stuff like that. I love. I yeah. I want to do my series. I have a thriller in mind that could easily be tipped into the side of horror if I do it right. So
Well,
there's a lot of stuff in the mind.
and that's what I loved about Jason and Freddy and them. Like, dude, I loved it when Freddy versus Jason came out because
Oh
A,
yeah,
we finally get to see the big two fight each other, and B, because they've been in development hell for like 20 years. Like they've
yeah,
been wanting to do it. And I mean, it was with some of the CGI crappy. Yes, it was. But you got to remember the year that it came out, 2003,
yeah.
2004. That's what we had back then. It isn't what we have today. So don't try to hold it to today's standards. But think
No,
of it as like, hey, at least the story made sense until the whole water piece with Jason. I'm like,
Mhm.
this is dumb. Like, nowhere in any of the Jason franchise did he ever say he was afraid of water, ever.
Right? No, no.
He don't care. Just beat him up, and
He
he'll
came
keep
out of
coming
the
back.
water in the first one.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah,
the dude went through sludge and debris and was, and I'm like, come on. They try to make him baby Jason and Matt and Jason goes to Manhattan. I'm like, this is stupid. That's when we got to the stupid parts of that. I'm like, all right, time to put it in the can and come back another day.
yeah, yeah.
But like the new Hellraiser, I love the new Hellraiser that came out with the girl in it.
With the
You
girl in
know,
it. Yeah,
yeah, because I mean it was a good story. Now with some of the practical effects, was it my Hellraiser? Was it going to be the real Pinhead? No, but it's not supposed to be either. It's
no,
more in line of the actual book series that Clive Barker came up with. And
yeah,
that's what everybody has to stop doing is comparing them to Doug Bradley. Doug Bradley was the best Pinhead period, and this is not him. This is not that story. It's a complete
right.
different story, and that's why I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, yeah. The it can that can also be said with the comic book movies and stuff like that. I when I go to the movies to sit down, I try to forget the the source material. The only one that I have a hard time with was like Resident Evil. I grew up playing the
Yeah.
game. I loved Resident Evil. The first round of movies that they came out with, I was excited, and then they became too action. Like there's not a lot of horror in this. The whole genre of the game is survival horror. Where's the horror? It's just her doing flips and kicking zombies. Like I'm not scared. So I'm not a big fan of the originals. Then they came out with the Welcome to Raccoon City.
Yeah.
I loved the character designs, the practical effects that they did, the overall, but the story they rushed every bit of it. They
Oh yeah.
didn't let it develop, and they could try to combine one and two, and I'm like, you could have easily played it just like the game and still done your own spin on it. So that was just fanfare, like fan service. They weren't really trying for a good Resident Evil movie. Then the series came out, which rest in peace to the gentleman who played Wesker. He just
Yeah.
passed away today. That was sad, but I didn't like the Netflix series. I'm like, come on, can we just do one Resident Evil movie right? That's
Yeah.
the only time I want to be a truist. Silent Hill, I think, did a remarkable job of translating the game to a movie. They took their own Hollywood license and put a spin on it, but while keeping true to the source material. So I love the Silent Hill film, and I'm like, man, so I know it's possible. So I still think to date the best video game to movie adaptation was the Super Mario Brothers. And
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
kidding,
John Leguizamo. Come on. You can't get no better than that. And that's like
right?
like like Spawn, for example. The Spawn movie.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed that. You know why?
yeah,
It was just like the comic book.
yep,
Literally, I was like, Michael J. White did that movie justice.
he did.
The only thing they didn't have really, and they kind of glimpsed it, was Chapel. Like the
Yeah,
Chapel piece of having him
hmm
killed. But they still had everything else. They had Wanda, they had the Clown, they had Malboja, they had the Violator. I mean, come on, and Leguizamo being the Clown was perfect.
awesome.
Now,
He is so funny.
and I love the CGI they had for what they had for back then. I mean, it made
Yeah,
sense what they did, but it was like, they're doing
and
a
didn't
new
he
one.
fund that all himself,
He
McFarlane?
he did, and that's
So
why
I mean, he did every bit of it on his own. So I think he did great for what he had.
It's like Blade. I enjoyed the Blade movies,
Yeah,
and a third one not as much, because and I hate to say it because of Ryan Reynolds, but like
right.
it's Blade. It should be dark and scary. It shouldn't be Hannibal King making crack up jokes with Wesley Snipes,
Yeah, it.
but
But
I was like, I
he got
understand what they
redeemed.
were doing. Oh yeah,
He got redeemed. It's
yeah,
just those type of movies that I do think back and my kids I can see them and remember when I first saw them and what I fell in love with because you and I grew up in that time where when like PlayStation 3 graphics were amazing and then we
hmm
see the CGI of Malbosia and Spawn it just blew our mind. And then you look back at it after seeing today's technology and yeah, you can tell it was done in the past, but I told them like, look, without these stepping stones, you wouldn't have today's technology. You would have that now because that's where you have to start. You don't just get this today without having that yesterday. So, I'm like, let's, we went to a video game convention and we just bought a PlayStation 2 and they've been playing a couple older PS1 and PS2 games. And they're like, these graphics are not the best. I'm like, that's because one, you're playing it on a newer TV. It doesn't look the way that it looked on our TVs.
exactly. It was on
But
12, 13-inch TV.
yeah, I said, but ultimately, man, I said this is what we had. So you see this, and then you can appreciate what you have now. So it's just a real humbling experience to sit down and kick their butt on what I grew up with versus them kicking my butt on what they're playing. So it's like I won't touch this stuff.
Well, it's like, and I have a PS5, so, we look at like how visually, like people look on the PS5 compared to what they look like,
Yeah,
say, on the 4, 3, or even the 2 or the 1. Like, it's came a long way since 95, 96. We're
right.
talking like it's been almost 30 years we've had a PlayStation almost, so it's kind of one of those things. Is like, holy crap, we've been here a long time, seen a lot of evolution. But I had the same issue because when I got my PlayStation Mini, I hooked it up
Oh yeah.
and I'm sitting there trying to play it, and it comes with the old style controller. I'm like, I'm having problems trying to play. I'm like, this is so bad, but it's so good, especially playing
Yeah.
Twisted Metal. I was
Oh,
like,
so good. Which is one I'm surprised they haven't made a movie at yet.
oh, they
They
should have
did
made one of those
the
years.
closest. Yeah, the closest thing that they got was Death Race,
Mhm.
which was an amazing film. I love that one, but that was the closest we ever got to a true Twisted Metal tournament type movie. I was really hoping that there was going to be a resurgence coming when they did the Mortal Kombat movie,
Mhm.
this last one, which I loved. I just watched it the other day just for fun because they just put it back on HBO Max. So I'm like, I'm going to watch it again. I loved it.
Christopher
Um,
Lambert, Raiden, come on.
yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people had mixed feelings because they're like, there's no tournament. I'm like, they're leading up to it. They're telling a story. They're not doing fan service. They are telling their own story. So I'm going to let them do their thing.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to enjoy the ride. Now, I think with today's technology and everything, I think a Metal Gear Solid game would be great. But I do know they just started filming that Five Nights at Freddy's uh, movie, which is a game I've only watched people play, and just because I really like the character designs of these animatronics and stuff, and I know Matthew Lillard's going to be in it, so I'm like, all right, this is going to be a good time. I'm excited for this. It's a horror movie, and that was a video game, and they got one of my all-time favorite actors. I'm set, so I
So,
probably will be doing some artwork about Five Nights at Freddy stuff.
did you watch Willy's Wonderland yet?
Not yet. I
Dude,
Is
that
it
is
on
like,
Amazon?
I think it was on Amazon and it was on Tubi, I think. But
Okay, because I may have to get a Tubi account because last time I went on Amazon, it wasn't available in my area. Or
but
I'm like, the heck?
I think I saw it at Walmart for like $5 though on
Then I'm
Blu-ray.
gonna go to Walmart tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason why is like it's literally Nicolas Cage beating up animatronics and,
Yeah,
and trying to clean this place up. And guess what? He doesn't say one word in the whole movie.
That's what I heard. I heard
And
he was silent. I'm
silent.
like
It's
Spider-Man
amazing.
Noir is silent. Like, okay, the guy that is known for his eccentric dialogue and his mannerisms is quiet. All right, this is going to be interesting.
Well, he's become a new face in horror now because, like, you've got Pig, you've got the color in his face that he's
Hmm.
done. Like he's been doing a lot of horror movies lately, and they're
Hmm.
phenomenal. Like he found
I didn't
his
realize
new
that.
niche. Like it ain't Ghost Rider, it ain't all the old. Like he found his good niche of like movies. And I'm like, this is all like so. Color and the Shape was done by Brian Usna and
Huh.
Stuart Gordon, who did, Reanimator, it's
Yeah.
a H.P. Lovecraft story.
Huh.
So
So he's not the multiverse Superman.
no, no. I will never forget
No.
that image ever.
No, no, it will forever live on in history, and I will tell my grandkids that that was Superman, and I'm
Yep.
just gonna confuse them. Like, no, I remember that movie.
Oh yeah. And I remember the Captain America movie from the 1990s too, and how bad
Oh,
it is. I still got it on DVD still.
yeah, the flimsy disc.
The big helmet,
Yeah,
the Martian helmet.
they still put the wings on it, man. Like
Yep.
if you had to, so good. So yeah, it's those type of films. They're classic for their time, and I gotta appreciate them. And that's why like remastering Prowl. I look back and I appreciate the work that I know I put into it, but I know I can do better, and I want to draw the line of the sand right here and say, okay, this is where I'm starting because now I know how to tell a story, know how to illustrate the story, I know how to publish properly and stick to a schedule. So um, now that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, oh,
Oh yeah.
so much work ahead of me.
All right. Well, folks, this has been the great Adam Fields. And, he's always
Thank
welcome
you.
on our channel. I put some links down in the comments below. One, of course, the Midnight 27 Studios. Go
Mhm.
check out his stuff. And then, of course, check out his Kickstarter for Prowl. We got 10 days left. And
10
so we
days.
plenty of time to get this stretch goal met and then maybe get another one. Let's push it. This is
Maybe.
making, who knows what we can do. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely go check out Adam. Um, and if you see him at a con, tell him Nate sent you, and say,
Sure.
hey, and have fun. So, Adam, dude, I always have a blast, man. We always have fun. We're going to do this again.
Likewise.
We'll make this a recurring kind of
Absolutely.
thing like we always do.
We
Um,
do.
so tell them where you're at, where they can reach you at,
Yeah.
your handles and stuff. So that way, if they want to go buy something from you, they can come reach out to you.
Absolutely. So, you can go to midnight27studios.com. That is my online shop. That's also where my schedule for all my shows are. You can find me on Facebook at The Art of Adam Fields. You can find me on Instagram at AdamField127. And check out Prowl on Kickstarter. And another one that is out there with my artwork is called Ink Issue 1 and 2. So you can check that one out as well. But other than that, Midnight 27 Studio should house all the info that you need right now.
And don't forget, too, good. Anytime the listeners come out, he might have a cover there too.
That
So
is a fact.
definitely check it out. So, that's our good boys over at Ethereal Comics. We don't know what to do without them. So thank you, Dustin and April, as well. Um, this has been your redneck from Texas, Nate. Not the redneck from Cali anymore or Georgia. Like I don't even have a permanent home. I just keep moving. But today's Texas. All right, folks. Thank you, Adam, for being on here. I
Thank you.
appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys for interacting down in the comments. And if you have any questions, hit up Adam or hit up me, and we'll definitely get you in the right way. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Take care.